Gentlemen, it's time. Sure, stream is stable. Been having some issues with download speed recently because having a smooth stream setup would be ridiculous. It's not possible. My internet. All right, get all the announcements sorted. I need a good quality meme for today as well. Hey, Spicy. Zams, thank you for the coaching. Yeah, no worries. I checked afterwards, and some of your mates were goofing off in the Twitch chat. They might show up on the VOD afterwards. Ah. Okay. Getting everything situated. Best owl demo of macro meta matchups ever live. Now let's go. Let's go. Funny loud is funny caps. Ha ha ha. And I gotta get a good meme here. I'm running out of memes, guys. I set the bar too high, you know. I think that's the problem, you know. Maybe this would be good. This would be good, I think. Wait, why am I not hearing anything? Why is it not making any noise? It's not making any noise, is it? Wait. Hello? Wait, why is it not? I have no idea. Weird. It's still pretty funny without audio, though. It's still pretty funny. Oh, gosh. Hello, everybody. Is it the greatest Overwatch coach of all time? Yes. Greatest person of all time, actually. So sad I didn't see the Zams review. That's alright. It'll be posted tomorrow. Is it going well at Classic Memory? Yeah, cheers to Priest. I don't know if I'm butchering your name, mate, so let me know. Hey, Bob. I heard you need Roadhog gameplay, right? I think so, yeah. If you guys want to send some replay codes, so there's the ELO Mastery Project, like the coaching service that I'm assisting out with. They need replay codes for their guides that they're putting together, like background footage. So if you're a Masters Plus player, you can join my Discord, !Discord, and drop your codes in here for background gameplay. So if you have extra codes, you know, feel free. It's not like a requirement, obviously, but if you have codes, we'll take them. Finally made it to stream. Hey Tesla, what's up, mate? Hey Ghost. I apologize for the disastrous replay thing. It was like the worst timing ever. The longest I've ever delayed a replay review, and then codes get wiped. It was like so embarrassing. I apologize. For the first time season I'm going the other day, went from GM1. I cursed you. Yes, that's what you get. It's what you get for beating me in a 1v1 in Sata Lobby. I'm so excited for today. I might be more excited for today's Overwatch League review. I might be more excited than I've been ever for an Overwatch League review. Wait, is it not up? I can just use the live thing, but they're like super behind on the VODs here, so I'm gonna have to use the live VOD, I guess. Kind of annoying. Am I blind? Where is it? Oh, I think this is it. Yeah, I think I got it. Can I lie about the codes? You can. I'll hit you over the head with something sharp though, or blunt. Will do more damage. Hey, Lord Christopher. I'm the only one that thinks that Ilya isn't as crazy OP. Nah, she's not. She's not that crazy OP, especially in like mid low. I mean, honestly, like Ilya is like strong, but like her ult's super situational. She takes mechanical skills. She doesn't have like super high like consistent healing. Yeah, so I think it's more of a situational. Am I co-streaming the continuous finale? No. Not, I mean, maybe. I haven't really thought about it. I would prefer to analyze it, if anything. Hey, Varashi. Hey, Apollo5. What's up, mate? AC Otter. Where do I kind of find the Elo Mastery project? Here's what you can do. Shoot me a DM and remind me, and I'll look into it. I think the beta is basically closed or closing. But I can ask to see if you can still get in. I don't think there's anything that's like super crazy right now that's available is the only thing. So there might not be any reason to get. And when it actually goes live, I'll let people know. Oh yeah, it's not technically out yet. It was like a closed beta for people that were involved in my Discord. And then it's basically wrapped up with the beta. So yeah. Yo, what's up? Why not do both? Maybe. It's more about a time thing for me. Because like I've been doing a lot more like editing, and I'm a terrible editor, so it takes me forever. So I have like less time. Glad you like it, Queen Enjoy. Thanks for the kind words. I have no idea what it is. I'm just trying to find info on it. Oh, yeah. Well, I can just tell you that the whole project is that it's basically a subscription coaching service with access to Overwatch League Tier 2 coaches with meta guides, updated hero guides, tips and tricks, ask a coach, live team coaching, all sorts of other details, basically. Yo, I haven't seen that emote in a while. Thanks for the sub, Idroid. But yeah. Can describe what the Gold Field Master is? Yeah, so that's basically what it is. And I'm working with a bunch of other AL coaches. I'm more of a small time partner because I'm kind of busy on my own stuff, but they reached out to me and asked for help a while back. I said I'd be happy to help. So they're smart guys. Okay, let's I guess we could just take a look here. Let me get the match pulled up. So I'm really excited for today's match. Like I said, probably the most excited I've been for a match ever, because it is between two really fun teams to watch, high-level teams, right? It is at the shift of a meta, and a very interesting meta at that. And it's going to have a lot more meta discussion than we've probably ever had in a VOD review before. Because you guys know, like, I like talking about map control, I like talking about timing and team play, angles and all that jazz. That's the thing, right? But today's session, let me actually get our Overwatch League set up here. We got to get the rank right. You guys know what it is. It's an Overwatch League review. So what's the rank? It's not Masters. It's Bronze. Always Bronze. And no, it's not Shock versus Vegas. This is going to be super fun. Like, this is going to be super fun because we are going to talk about the meta, the macro, the micro, the moncro, like every single kind of shift, pivot, and everything. So let's start off with this. Actually, I closed down Overwatch and I opened up Epic Pin, but I actually don't. I'm going to reverse. Now, I don't know how many of you guys saw my video yesterday on Violet's Iliari, and if you didn't, then you need to watch it. But if you didn't, you don't necessarily have to watch it because I'll give you the quick TLDR. The TLDR is that understanding Iliari's. By the way, it's Iliari. That's the proper way to pronounce it. It's the Peruvian, I forget how to pronounce it. Quechua? It's the native pronunciation. Wait, how do you pronounce it? How do you pronounce it? Quechua. Yeah, I think. So anyway, if it's Spanish, it's Iyari. If you're a white boy like me, it's Hilari, but it's technically Iliari. So anyway, we need to understand like what this hero actually does, and what this character actually does is she says no to Tracer, Sombra, those kind of things. We just came off of a Tracer Sombra meta, and her ability to headshot and like just body shot squishies is really, it's a huge problem, especially for hit scan. In addition to that, because she has Pylon and because she has a freaking shift, which knocks these characters back as well. She is an absolute demon to dive. She is so difficult to dive. And the interesting thing about it is you think about heroes like Kiriko who are also hard to dive. Well, then how come, how come we still play dive? It's because Kiriko also enables dive very heavily. She has the mobility, she has the ranged healing, she can do all these core things. Illari doesn't. Turret doesn't help flankers. Turret helps herself. Her mobility is also relatively limited. It's more about booping you away than allowing her to move around the map a whole lot. Her gun, her ranged heal, it's not there. Her range heal isn't there at all. So she's one of the few examples of a character that is anti-dive without actually also enabling dive herself. Brig and Kiriko both enable dive as much as they disable dive. You guys kind of get what I'm saying? Armor packs, Kiriko range heal. Illari doesn't do any of that. So basically you have a hero that says no to dive. So you're like, all right, well then we can't just dive you. So what are we gonna do? How do we play around that? And the entire meta is shifting around teams not being able to play Tracer Sombra because the threat of Illari stops you from doing that. Now you might say, but Spilo, they were playing Tracer. Well, we're gonna get to that. Any questions that you have about this meta right now are probably gonna be answered in the next 2.5, 3 hours of this review. We're gonna go in detail, not so much on the macro and the team play. I'm actually not as interested in looking about what team is better and I want to talk about where is this meta gonna go and use this game as backdrop because I think it's probably the most interesting Overwatch League match in my memory and maybe ever in terms of answering the question of what matchups are, what rock paper scissors, what compositions are good, what compositions are bad, the maps, the heroes, the hero strengths. It's super interesting. So you can even look at it as so anyway, now I'm gonna go and give you guys a big fat juicy disclaimer. This is early meta, so it's very fun right now. I'm gonna be honest, I'm not gonna be a doomer, but I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I don't think the meta is going to stay this diverse. Right now, teams are figuring things out, and rock, paper, scissors is always way more important until teams figure out the solution. Not only figure out the solution, but they figure out how to dive in Illari. For example, Tracer Sombra might work into Illari, but you have to, right? And we don't know what that is yet, right? Winston is worse than Orisa unless you run. You kind of see what I'm saying? And we don't know what that is right now. Now, the reason I made the Houston video yesterday is because not only because I wanted to talk about it, because I think that is a very possible solution there. You slap a Kiriko onto a Tracer, well, now you have the sustain to give that Tracer the time to break Pylon. You have somebody that can also shoot the Illari. That Illari doesn't really do very good versus a Kiriko. So I think those are kind of the things that we're kind of looking for right now. Maybe the meta is going to shift more towards an Ana Kiriko, that counters the Illari, but then teams are just going to play on a Brig because on a Brig breaks on a Kiriko, and then
get a shirtless stream
you're super funny. Thank you for the sub. We'll see. So I think it's we just have to wait and see. Now, obviously, none of this was made in a vacuum. There were a couple of small changes to Cassidy. Obviously, the HP thing was pretty significant as well. Orisa got a couple of tweaks. There were a lot of things that happened at once, so that's when these metas become really confusing. But you're going to see a lot of rock, paper, scissors that might not be relevant later, but will still be fun to analyze and talk about, and we'll have some discussion about how these matchups might be played. Okay, so let's take a look here. I'm going to turn it down. Let me know if the audio is too loud or too quiet. So let's talk about this composition right now. Now, why is Torbjorn being played? Well, Torb just got giga buffed. His fire rate is really strong. In addition, Torb does really well versus dive. And this is still a relatively dive-focused map with the amount of high ground and mobility allowed. So you want to play a character, then you might want to play Torbjorn with that character. So I would describe Florida Mayhem as like the quintessential new age anti-dive, and anti-dive spam tank that cannot be isolated in dove and can deny staging by spamming and harpooning. Anti-dive because spam, because turret, and the big thing that makes Torbjorn anti-dive is his overload, which is the defensive cooldown. When you play a heroes, you need to have a defensive cooldown. Obviously, Illari, we already talked about that. The reason why teams are running Baptiste over some of the other supports is Baptiste is self-sufficient. He can keep his Orisa alive. Now, you might go, isn't Baptiste pretty bad into full dive? I've been one of the people that's actually talked about how weak Baptiste actually is into full, like Sombra Tracer Winston dive, but He's weakened to full Sombra Tracer Winston dive. This is not full Sombra Tracer Winston dive. Sombra Tracer not being able to be played and a little bit less Winston now makes BAP's survivability a lot better. A BAP can handle a Winston. A BAP can even handle a Winston Tracer a little bit. He just struggles when there's a lot of things because lamp shift aren't going to matter anymore at that point in time. So he synergizes well, that he's self-sufficient, that allow the Iliari to kind of do whatever she wants. And that's the key thing. Iliari needs to play however she wants. She needs to take her own angle, take her own high ground, maybe play with somebody else, but she wants to do her own thing. Now, there's the redheaded stepchild. No offense to any redheaded or stepchildren in my chat, all right? It's just a phrase. There's and this is Soldier. I think that Soldier is going to be a character that may or may not be phased out in some of these compositions. I don't like Soldier a lot of those times. I think Soldier is just not a very good character. Now, the reason why Soldier was being played a lot in a lot of these matchups is because Soldier can break. I think Soldier in the Iliari mirrors can break turret consistently, can focus Iliari consistently, and has his own self-sustain. But the guy just isn't very good versus any form of dive. The heal station isn't good. We talked about a stem pack maybe being something that Soldier could utilize so they can heal on the move. That would be a huge quality of life change. Anyway, Soldier is the odd man out right now. And I think that you're going to see that a lot on Flashpoint, where Soldier doesn't look that good and something like a Sojourn looks better, or teams even remove the Soldier entirely and find a way to make Tracer work, even into the Iliari. I just don't like Soldier very much. He fits because the meta is favoring him, not because he's a very strong character right now. That's the very important thing you have to understand. I want to actually make a video on that. We're going to talk about that on this Thursday on what makes a meta. Stay tuned for that on Thursday, and we'll talk a lot about that. But Soldier is a little bit the odd one out. Now let's talk about Boston. Now Boston's forcing dive. Boston's flickering amazing at dive. Top 3 probably. Top 3, top 4. And this is a really good map for if you were to play dive here. This would be the map. A lot of high ground. Stalker thing for the sub, mate.
Thanks to @Timothy for my sub gift.
Oh yeah. Cheers. Echo, a lot of high ground, a lot of mobility, some extra spam. You know, obviously we don't want to lean too hard into the Sombra Tracer here on a Brig. Now this is the interesting thing here. All right. Now Brig, it's a short sightline map, so there will be some things for Brig to do. Brig can kind of push a little bit of Soldier, maybe whip shot on the Orisa, but our Brig is okay. I'm gonna use the term again. I need to get a better. Could somebody suggest something that I'm not? It's not that it's offensive. It's just like it's kind of boring. I need a better, funner analogy. Redhead stepchild. I'd say the fat kid, but that's not exactly better either. That's just as lame. But Brig is again the odd man out. Odd man out. Black sheep. Sure. Odd man out. Brig is also the odd man out here, right? Because Brig is there to peel what? Now they might have been expecting a mirror here, which is why they roll out Brig, the ugly duckling. Sure. But she just doesn't fit. She just doesn't do much. It is a shorter sightline map, so she can push people a little bit, but she just doesn't fit. This is where you guys can probably guess, what should this character be if you're Boston? Who should this be? Got any ideas? Got any ideas? Because Brig is about to be a big problem. Kiriko, exactly. This should be Kiriko if they knew they were on this composition. You pair your Kiriko up with Tracer and with Echo, you're able to take this entire side of the map and actually poke these guys out. I had a great YouTube comment yesterday that asked, like, what's the difference between dive and spam if dive ends up just taking these off angles and spamming people out? There isn't that much of a difference, actually. Everything is about map control. The difference between dive and spam is you have hyper mobile characters that can take positions like these without dying. That's the real difference, right? So I mean, you could honestly even run a Mercy here in a way, but it's probably too greedy. But yeah, anyway, long story short, the Brig just doesn't fit in this kind of matchup. And you're going to see a lot of awkward support situations where this kind of stuff happens. They roll out on this, and all of a sudden Brig is useless. All of a sudden Brig is useless. And what do you do, right? So let's take a look. And again, I don't want to overanalyze the macro here. I really want to focus on the compositions and the basics of how they're being played. Even now you see the Brig wrapping on high. So there is some value here. Now, I'm not super happy with the rollout from Mayhem. I would have liked Checkmate to consider rolling out on top here. I think Checkmate with an Iliari pocket close by would have done a better job contesting this angle here. I don't know if they just didn't know the comp they were rolling out on, but the problem here is that Boston ends up getting the entire map because Iliari gets cleared out very easily and Torb just gets stuck on main. And so you can look at the matchup here. Now, the crucial thing, and this is why Florida actually wins this round, is that even though they lose all the space, to give someone wraps all the way around as they're literally getting shoved at the butt cheeks, right? Someone, as he's getting shoved around, doesn't stand still. He keeps rotating all the way around and catches backline. This is inexcusable. This is inexcusable from Boston. It should just not be happening. Now, obviously, a nice skill from Maka there onto Decay. Obviously, his debut as well, so exciting stuff for him. But really well played by someone, and really fumbled the bag from Boston Uprising. And someone's going to go take high ground here. They're going to actually swap to Genji. That's probably something that has to do more. And the reason why you're going to see more Genji, it's the diveable squishies. Okay, so you look at something like an Echo, a lot of spam, a lot of pressure. Love Echo into Torb, love Echo into I think even BAP isn't too bad, but with the combination of 1 hit scan, 2 hit scan, 3 hit scan, it's too much. It's too much. So you're going to go something that can close the distance, actually threaten, and that's why we're seeing Genji being played, is because the number of heroes here that you can actually kill. And heck, you can also break turret too. So I think the Genji swap is a good one. I just don't want them retaking with Brig. I don't know if Lee Jae-gong can play a decent Kiriko. This is probably why he's not playing Kiriko, is because this is just what they've practiced, or he's not comfortable on it. But you can see here, the problem is that you have all of these angles that are being controlled by Florida, and because these DPS aren't going to get pocket from a Kiriko, they can't go as aggressively as they'd like. And like, you just look at Florida's positioning here, and even someone holding high ground here, like, he's just completely gatekeeping this Ana from doing anything. Look at this here, eats the nade, if I remember correctly. I remember watching this, like right there, like, what do you do? So thankfully, Boston actually finds a way to close the distance on Maka. Maka kind of feeds. You guys won't see this, but off screen right here, Maka gets whip shot off the map. And that's just an individual ent. I think Mayhem really have the map control locked down, but Maka just trolls. Only other adjustment I would have is I don't think I want Soldier on the high ground there. I think he's too close to Genji Tracer. I would prefer Torb, at least controlling the back angle there instead of the Soldier. I think Soldier is just not particularly good in that situation. You could honestly play Lucio here. Yeah, I mean, honestly, Lucio might not even be that much worse. I think Lucio at least has a little bit of dynamics with how he can play. Yeah, so here's the thing, is this composition, there are so many dive targets for Winston, but there's also so much poke damage, right? So no swaps from Mayhem on the retake. They actually end up punishing Smurf, who really just overextends. I think Smurf sees Torb and decides to commit, but Torb has his overload, he runs away. Smurf takes way too much damage. He also greeds his bubble and doesn't use his bubble, so then dies for it. That's just an individual int from Smurf. Okay. Then Florida's going to push back. The turret's way in the back. RuPaul somehow gets killed. I mean, this is pretty dangerous spot here for Mayhem, because it's really easy for Dive to just stage on you. But again, it's just like they just push back. So going down one is rough there. And that sucks, because this is Boston's, like, this is perfect if you're running Genji and Winston and Ana, and even Brig, right? This is all super tight sight lines, tons of angles, nowhere where like a Soldier, Torbjorn, BAP, Iliari can spam you at all. You can just basically just drop on top of them, right? And they really fumbled the bag there with those deaths. So that really sucked. They even commit Nano there, which made sense, but you know, it kind of sucks. Someone off angles to shoot. Look at the off angle here, right? You have an angle, I think, I don't know who this is. This should be Merit on the long sight line, Orisa on the shorter sight line, and then again another long sight line here. And then you can even put your Iliari up top if she wants, or she can peek out the bottom left here. I mean, there's just no way that anybody can stall card here, so, or point. And then again, this is just where the Brig just like, could Lee Jae-gong have bashed out there? Yes, that's probably a mechanical mistake, but it's just so hard to get Brig value when the backline, you're just so easy to walk on. Like, what do you push here as Brig? This is like a problem that you have in ranked, but you shouldn't be picking a hero that you have to adjust that far. Again, Merit has to be so careful. Merit has to be so careful. He's going to run all the way, I think, to back this position here, which probably makes sense. Leveraging to a level. Honestly, I don't think we've seen him on that level yet so far. Yeah, so again, you know, you notice that they're able to leverage the rotation around high ground here. They're going to flip around. Again, we need to see Florida pushing on the opposite side now to rotate away. That's an early deflect. That is really good news. There's the blade. There's the lamp. They try to Orisa ult. He actually misses. He gets Sunstruck, though, and killed. So you're gonna notice in Sunstruck that it's basically just a solo ult in Overwatch League because people take too many different angles. There's the rally push. They commit primal, they commit rally, they commit blade, they end up winning the fight. Not the end of the world. More situational ults that were used from Mayhem, Rissa ult, and Iliari ult, and they get a nice little stall there. So again, on retake here, there's really nothing that you really need to do here. You just need to push up, bait maybe Nano Winston, survive Nano Winston, and then push out with Torbolt or respond with Torbolt here. Pulse Bomb should be pretty big ult here. There's lots of targets to stick. Lots of pretty easy targets to stick here. There's the nade. They mess up the dive on the Nano Winston. The Genji's forced out. The Tracer isn't able to get there. He gets harpooned. He is going to survive. The Torb ult gives them a lot of space to push back out. And then they do, remember the snapback effect, right? Where you respond with an ultimate. And you push back in and they catch the visor. Decay is isolated. And I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. And then again, the Brig is just like totally by herself. Like the Brig is just does almost nothing. Like as good as Rally is, it's like essentially the only thing that they bring to the table, and then just off-angle control, panic touches, and that's pretty much it. So I just think Flota had the better composition here. I think if you run Kiriko on that map, even with the Echo, I actually think that it becomes much more of a skill matchup. I just think forcing Brig on that map into that comp is just not going to feel good at all. How do you counter the Orisa? You just need to go around her. You just need to go around her. Like that's the problem with Orisa right now. She's basically very, very hard to kill, but she's also has some of the lowest mobility in all of Overwatch 2 tanks. So you just go around her, and with that much verticality, you shouldn't have as many times someone ended up on Boston's backline. That's a mistake from Boston's backline. It should not be happening.
Like you said, so much damage with that range, Jake. As soon as you hit that spear, if you get a stun with
no idea why they wouldn't use Kiriko or Lucio. It might have just been a rollout. It might have been they expected Mayhem to roll out on a similar dive comp. Okay, so then this is where you can really tell like the meta has shifted a little bit, because this is where you would see you would see some alternative comps here, because this is a pretty narrow map, and so we would see spam here sometimes, but like it's going full Widowmaker here. Now I don't like the Torb here. I'm not sure if this was we're not sure what composition they're going to roll out on, but I think something like a Sojourn would have been okay as well. Obviously, Bird Ring just is smoking crack. Again, Bap, Kiri, Orisa Mir, because spam map, not very good for dive, not a lot of, way too many sight lines. The Sojourn is definitely an interesting one. I don't think Sojourn is that good, so maybe that's where the thought process. Now, okay. I think somebody's on the wrong hero right now. Can anybody point out to me who's on the wrong hero here? Now, this is totally subjective. This is just my opinion. But can you tell me who's on the wrong hero here? This might take a little bit of hero pool knowledge and a little bit of macro knowledge. Yeah, got caught in the ult rotations and didn't want to swap and lose it. Now, I think the tanks are fine. I think Orisa's okay. I think you could maybe retake with Sigma, but I think that's too greedy and you could get counter swapped. I think Orisa's the safer pick. Lige Gong and Bap, I think that's okay as well. They're not playing a flanker, so you don't necessarily need the Kiriko, and unless you're Violet, you're not going to get as much value. Decay is good on hit scan. Now, you could argue that there are maybe other heroes besides Sojourn when you're playing into a Widowmaker, but I don't think Decay is necessarily on. Now, yeah, it's Checkmate. I think Checkmate's on the wrong hero. Chat, what should Checkmate switch? Now, Checkmate started on Torb, and he goes, I'm not playing this into this composition. They're on Widow, Sojourn, Bap. What should Checkmate be on? Now, I would think there are two options. I think Hanzo, is a little bit greedy, although actually not a bad suggestion. I think Hanzo is maybe not as meta, and maybe a little bit too greedy. You could get counter swapped if you go Hanzo. But I actually think that's a pretty good option. I think it's Mei or Genji. You look at this composition, this is exactly what you want to play Genji into. Obviously there's a lot of defensive cooldowns, but those defensive cooldowns are very safe. You have a lot of value out of your ability to close the distance. And he's a very good Genji. I don't know why he plays Sojourn here. Mei is basically, this is just a good map for Mei because it's like a poke hero with survivability and utility, and Checkmate's Mei is ridiculous. He's very, very good at Mei. So it's more of a comfort pick. I wouldn't say the average DPS player should play Mei here, but I think it makes sense given his hero pool. So I don't like the Sojourn. I don't think you're going to be able to do enough tank pressure. I think you're really scared of Widowmaker. I don't think you're going to be able to use your mobility at all. I think this is almost exclusively spam matchup. So why not play something like a Genji or a Mei? Genji who could actually use his mobility, and Mei who could actually utilize her spam / her wall utility. I think this is a perfect situation to go Genji or Mei, and I think you're going to see Checkmate's going to hit a couple of shots, but I don't think his value is particularly good. So this is basically the strategy here. Both Widows kind of contesting each other in off angles here. Then both teams trying to avoid the Widowmakers fighting in this tiny little space over here. I see no reason why you would want a Sojourn over a Genji or a Mei and this kind of a fight over here. And you'll see it, right? Even if you're not super familiar with pro meta, you will go, oh my gosh, like imagine if a Mei or a Genji were here, right? Imagine how much more freedom, how much more poke there would be. I mean, even the Mei Icicle on the Widow is better than a Sojourn because it's going to be hard to build rail in these spam matchups. So you see this, like imagine Genji here. Imagine Genji. Imagine if Genji going essentially over here. Maybe that's something that an Iliar could bother too much, in which case I still want Genji to be able to force and pressure pincer dives like this here, or a Mei. I think it's a huge missed opportunity, sadly. Is Merit taking too safe of a position? Yes, I would say taking too safe of a position given how aggressively Mayhem are pushing here. But yeah. I don't, like I said, I'm not going to analyze the macro or the micro too much. Like I said, I want to focus more on comms, but yeah. So he gets value. He basically just shoots Orisa, but I'm so sad that he didn't play Genji or Mei here. That's just ridiculous. We couldn't even see him. Captive Sun trying to avoid the Orisa spin. He actually gets value out of Smurf booping them off of high ground so that they can't eat it. Unfortunately, Smurf ends up having to use all his cooldowns to do so and then gets snapped back by the enemy ultimate. There's Sunstrike and the death comes as a result. They commit a lot to it though. Both teams commit a lot to it, but Boston's still coming in here with 2. Mayhem really just have the 1, so. Does Iliari do too much damage? I don't know. I think we have to kind of wait and see with Iliari. Iliari is definitely the noob stomper if you're like smurfing and stuff, but she is pretty tricky. Okay, let's skip ahead here. Infrasight's huge here. Really, really important. It makes things really difficult, especially with somebody at Birdwing's caliber who just hits a shot all the time. They're going to start to apply point pressure. Checkmate can't control any space right now on this Sojourn because he's so scared of Widowmaker. He does get a kill on Twilight, which is huge. Decay gets a shot trade on Merit. Really hard to see what's going. The Orisa ult's totally fine. And basically, I'm going to give you guys a TLDR here. Birdwing is just going to hit every shot in the world. And that's pretty much it in a nutshell. Like, they have actually no business winning this fight. Mayhem are able to pop off. But somehow Birdwing just hits 3 headshots just for free. And then lives because someone misses the Javelin. I think this fight's lost regardless, but yeah, it's just ridiculous. Birdwing just legitimately just deadlifts this one. Now, Jake doesn't like this composition, but I'm going to disagree with Jake. And we're going to revisit this composition style later. Not exactly the DPS, not exactly the support and Iliari, but we're going to revisit the whole Doomfist Lucio idea later because it's actually good. It's actually good. See, there's 2 ways of beating Iliari, okay? You either spam her or you rush on top of her. You don't dive her in poker with Tracer. You get something with speed on top of her. And I actually think that she's pretty fragile if you're able to do that. It's hard to do that. So this composition is definitely a panic. We have to go back and touch point. That's why they're on these heroes. Let's be very clear. But it's better than you think on maps when you can actually get close to people, which is why you're going to see it on Flashpoint later. So long story short, Smurf is a good Doom. It's definitely a little bit of a messy synergy thing. But let's say Doomfist goes in aggressively with Lucio, Twilight takes an angle, these guys take an angle, it can work just fine. I think this composition, there are many worse OT touch comps you could do. Or you could be on. And basically what ends up happening is Smurf is going to basically engage on Merit, force Merit all the way out, distract the core of Mayhem. So the Mayhem pushes forward, but RuPaul's still lagging behind. And he's just basically solo contesting Widow, which isn't a bad thing because he can force Widow out just like this and then go back to the fight before Merit can get back to the fight. Because Merit still has to wait for grapple. Merit might have to go back to spawn to heal. And so Mayhem are touching point. So it's a 4v4 right now. But in about 5-6 seconds, it's going to be a 5v4 for Boston's advantage. And so even though Checkmate kills Li Gong, Smurf is now in. You guys see this? Smurf is now actually fighting. In addition, Boston actually has ult Captive Sun here, and then just now is Merit here. Merit just got here now, but by the time he gets here, the fight's already lost. And while you don't really see a lot of the direct value of the Doomfist Lucio, Doomfist zoning the Widow all the way out, removing her for the first 15-20 seconds of that fight, and only costing him 8, 9, 10 seconds of the fight is really why Boston wins this. Yeah. Is forcing Widow out better than killing her? I mean, you can't kill her, because like once she grapples out towards your spawn, you can't chase. But forcing her grapple cooldown was exactly the value that they needed here. Now, I'm not going to over-explain this comp. Oh, if you guys wanted to see the pop-off here, if you guys didn't catch this match, you definitely need to watch this. This is how they lose. This is how Florida loses that fight somehow.
This is like a one-man army situation. It really is. Hitting shots like these, the rest of the team don't need to do anything. Look at that. Are you gonna? I mean,
it's ridiculous. The guy doesn't even play Widowmaker much in the matches anymore. Just absolutely ridiculous. Why the BAP over the Ana? It's mostly just because it's better with the Orisa, and if it applies a little bit more pressure onto the enemy Orisa, a little bit more self-sustain as well. Ana requires a little bit more babysitting depending on the situation, so you can kind of let your Iliari do whatever she wants. Okay, so let's talk about these compositions. Now, this is not new, what the Mayhem have pulled out. This is not the first time we've seen this composition. It is a variation of a TP and Turtle on point. The reason why they run the Kiriko Moira and not the Lucio is obviously most importantly because Maka doesn't play Lucio. He's their second flex support. But we've actually seen most teams migrate away from the Lucio in this composition because really this comp doesn't necessarily need the Lucio speed. It's going to do one of two things. It's going to sit in Turtle on point, in which case the AoE healing of something like a Kiriko or something else will be more valuable, or something like a Suzu, or it's going to TP on top of somebody, in which case the TP is their speed boost. You don't need the speed boost to pursue beyond that. So I think this is a pretty reasonable comp from Mayhem. This is a pretty reasonable answer from Boston. They're going to send Birdring back to spawn and put him on Ashe, and this is fine. I think this is going to be more about execution than anything else with these teams. This, you could close your eyes, and this would be previous patch. This would be fine. These compositions are not something that are like brand new. This is something that we've seen before, and both teams' responses are fine. They can obviously get point flip. You see different off angles set up from both DPS. Ashe here, Ashe goes high. Winston here, Echo on the angle, on the angle. Now, obviously, the Brig here is a little bit awkward. You could play this with a Kiri. Would be nice if you wanted to greed into Mercy, you could. The reason why most teams don't greed into Mercy is because then when Mayhem swap back to like dive on retake, the Mercy is really, really not very good. I want to point out a little detail here from something that he was doing really well on this defensive hold. He's managing his shield. Watch his shield breaks. You see his shield almost breaks. Twilight sees no shield. There's the nade. He has 120 HP on his shield, and he blocks nade. And he does this twice. So, I mean, that I cannot tell you how important it is to block that nade. So that's monstrous. Then they use Maywall. That allows someone to drop shield a little bit until the next nade. I think he's going to do it again, if I remember correctly. There's another nade. There's another block. I mean, that's ridiculous. It does hit Merit, so they have to be careful there. But they even greed the Suzu there, right? Now, this is cute. Now, I want you guys to remember. Do you remember when, was it Proper, or he's saying maybe both, I think, copying the Rhine? And I was losing my mind. Guys, come on. Copying Reinhardt. Okay. This is how you copy Reinhardt. It's still not amazing, but if you're gonna copy Reinhardt, first off, there's not a lot of great copy targets, period, in these brawl comps. But second off, if you're gonna copy Reinhardt, you need to copy inside of the enemy team so that, yes, you die instantly, but at least you get like 1 or 2 swings on the backline, right? And this is exactly what Decay does. He flanks from behind, copies Ryan, 1 swing, 2 swing, shatter. Instantly on the back. Yes, he's immediately out, but now the only bad thing is he actually doesn't get his shift back in time. So it's definitely a high risk, high reward play. But if you're gonna copy Ryan, you get in there, you get your juicy 1 or 2 swings, and then you go from there. That was good. But yeah, I think the safer play, definitely a copy on Kiriko or Moira. I think even a May would have been good as well. But I was going to say, if you're going to copy Ryan, that's how you need to do it. The big thing that I have to say, though, is that very quietly is the mistiming of this pressure. So the block nade, Winston in, they force copy, Brig pushes, but check this wall value out. Check this out, guys. You hate to see it. If Brig is pushing from here, or Brig is pushing from here, and this, I mean, this is just a monstrous wall from checkmate. There's no nade, there's no Ashe damage, there's no Brig damage. It's literally just Winston and Reinhardt together. And you just hate to see it. You just hate to see it. So there just isn't any follow-up. It's a weakness of the Brig, it's a goodness of the wall, and a poor timing of Twilight's nade. Basically, they nade, then they push afterward. It's unfortunate. Ashe is just more damage. Yeah, fishing for picks. Dynamite's good. Bob is good versus Mayhem's comp as well. They actually didn't roll out on Ashe. They went back to spawn to swap because they needed more damage to break the turtle. So now we have basically just fight on point ults. There's the TP. That's just to buy them time or to scare Twilight away. They actually forced Twilight to drop off of the high ground without a TP, which means his angle's a little bit worse for healing and damage and nades. So that's actually kind of a cute little nade there. You don't even need to take TP. Just scare him. Notice as well that we're spending more time. There's the... I mean, that's just a headshot from somebody. I mean, Birdring just gets sniped. Then checkmate finishes it off. The blizzard there to counter the nano. Smurf gets on, but the nano's basically already done. That's a huge mistake from RuPaul there. I don't know if his fade got forced earlier. I think he gets full stickied. I think he gets full stickied by Echo, then fades, and he doesn't have his fade for the nade. Also, a bit of a misplay from someone there getting slept as well. So it's going to be a big ult commitment from Mayhem. And then Smurf does a great job baiting Shatter. Not a good TP. They're not able to get onto the Ana. So Mayhem kind of fumbles the bag here. Well played by Boston, but Mayhem really does fumble the bag. So, okay. Why Moira over BAP? Less squishy is really like the easiest answer. I don't think BAP would be that bad, though. Some teams have run BAP Moira, if I remember correctly. I think the BAP Moira would be quite good as well. So they're gonna kind of go like this budget, like dive composition, and then someone makes a mistake. He's gonna go Winston. This is not going to work because he doesn't have the Ana range support, and especially into this high of a damage composition, you can't really dive Echo. So that's something that you want Diva for. So he's basically just going to waste a fight on... here's the spoiler warning. He's going to waste a fight on Winston. The Moira book is close to Coalescence. It's fine. Just flank Moira, essentially. But really, someone should be on Diva here. Why Sim is strong here? Because you can TP to point safely. Turrets on point, strong. Symmetra ult, strong. And TP onto the backline if you want to. And then someone gets naded and just freaking dies. There's the copy forest. I mean, this is just basically someone should not have died. It's really that simple. He should not be on Winston. And they should have played it a little bit more cautiously until they had Coalescence. Why is Junkrat not play that much? He struggles to scale very well with skill. He's pretty squishy if you can dive on top of him, and he doesn't scale as well at a higher level as some of the other characters. Like, you get really good at Tracer, you can play around Junkrat a lot better than you can in, like, mid to low ranks. Even high ranks, right? Even a ranked environment, Junkrat is okay, but he's not good enough in Al. Okay, so then they're going to go Diva on retake. He misses the fade, and that's kind of a big deal. And then this is just a bit of an end. Like, they get a lot of space forcing the backline into here, and then they just need to go to point, and they just need to force point or focus Smurf or something like that, but then RuPaul. It just, honestly, a lot of this was just individual ints from the side of Boston, or from the side from Mayhem. It's really, you should never kill a coalescing Moira. So that's just a bit of a misplay. And so that pretty much puts Mayhem in a hole. And now you kind of see why the composition from the Mayhem is not something that you see every single time from teams playing this map. Really nice job by Boston, by the way, here, chasing staggers. It means that Mayhem's not going to be able to touch. It's because when you swap off, Mayhem have built a Coalescence. That's it. That's the only ultimate they've been able to build on the retake. And so, I mean, that's pretty much it, right? If you commit to the Rhine comp, it's a really, you need to be able to build up an ultimate or not troll fights, and RuPaul someone troll 2 fights in a row, and so Florida never even gets a proper fight afterwards. Okay, how good is someone's diva? It's good enough. It's good. It's fine from what we've seen. Okay, any questions so far? Because it's going to continue. We're going to keep going with a compositional rock paper scissors here. And again, I say rock paper scissors lightly. It's really not even rock paper scissors. It's just more of different reads of different things. Is Flashpoint a good game mode? Subjective. Been seeing Junker Queen sometimes. Why? We'll talk about that. I think we're going to see some Junker Queen on Flashpoint. If we don't, remind me and I'll talk about it. Okay, let's take a look here. So basically, here's what we have. Florida is running now. This is, I'm convinced, a point-specific strategy that's been pushing up. We've been seeing a lot of Sigma. Now, why Sigma would be played on a map like this is because wide open sightline, long sightlines on the backline, and self-sufficiency. Now, you're asking, well, then why didn't we see some Sigma before? Well, because Sigma is butt cheeks into Winston, Sombra, Tracer. He can do absolutely nothing besides try to control the Ana a little bit. He's terrible. He's absolutely terrible. But if we don't see those compositions because of Iliari and the Sombra nerfs, then you can greed the Sigma out. We've even seen Sigma attack. Now, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I think this is a bit of a gimmick. I can see Sigma working here, but I still feel that it is a little too one-dimensional, and I think it could be punished by wrapping around. I think you could even see Boston running that Ana Kiriko strategy I was talking about earlier and finding success. I think this composition would struggle into a Kiriko Tracer or a Soldier, or a Kiriko Echo with an Ana. I think when you go this far into the greed, you leave yourself open to being countered. So I don't expect this to be something that stays for very long, but I might be wrong. Echo here just because verticality, Bap, Iliari just because, good support combo because Iliari can do whatever she wants and Batiste can keep the tank alive while keeping himself alive. I think here with Boston, let's see what Boston rolls out on here. Okay, so they commit to here. Boston is basically trying to do a budget version of what I was talking about, where they send their Winston, or their Winston, I don't know why it's quotes, but they send their dive tank or a dive hero on the flank with a Kiriko. And then what they do is they then have the rest of the team take off angles and spam out from different sightlines. Now the Hanzo, I don't think is anything but a first fight cheese. You can put Hanzo right here. Really, really, really nasty. Soldier, you're not going to get any space. You need that verticality. So I think Boston's comp is okay. It's okay. And the reason why you run a Diva over a Winston here is because you look at these heroes. Echo might be difficult to dive. This guy might be difficult to dive. But most importantly, if you run Winston, you kind of want to run it with an Ana. And if you want to run a Kiriko to go on a flank, and you still want to run Iliari, Diva demands less healing than a Winston, so this combo makes more sense. I mean, we're getting really complicated, guys. I told you this was going to get complicated. So let me get the volume back up just a little bit here. And basically, you're going to see Boston's going to try to take an angle here, take an angle behind the Sigma, and then take an angle from somewhere else on main. And they're just going to try to pincer and surround.
Angles and all these Hanzo arrows from Bird Ring, any one of them could be enough to find an opener here. Just take a fair bit of damage though from Checkmate. They can't wait too long either. You don't want to waste too much time.
And Checkmate's doing his best to try to keep that Hanzo and Iliari at bay. Like, his job is just to make sure that these two guys don't get too aggressive. If they get too aggressive, they're going to kill people. So he holds them at bay and prays that his team can deal with this hit squad here. Now, it's also interesting to me to note that Decay is actually hard flanking by himself. Super, super high risk, high reward play. No healing, no support, easy to scout. Very, very scary for Decay.
There, but it's not going to be enough really to dissuade.
Diva goes in. They try to get the boop. Buy drive safe. There's Suzu. They go in for the dive. They actually, I am not a fan of this from someone at all. Someone actually drops to chase the push. Super high risk, high reward play. And you guys are going to notice that as someone gives up the space, this is the problem with Sigma on Numbani. he doesn't have the verticality. So once he's dropped, Birdring and Izayaki are going to actually walk forward because they're not going to get shot anymore. So I don't like this from someone. It might work, but it gives up a lot of space to the Iliari and Hanzo. Echo wraps back around main. D.Va takes the high ground, and then the Hanzo that now has the position gets a kill off of it. Smurf just trolls. If Smurf was patient here, they actually win this fight. Smurf just trolls. That's actually a shame. Boston set up that retake really nicely, but Smurf just trolls. Voyer L, thanks for the sub, mate. And again, look at how deep this Hanzo is, right? And it's still working. Thanks for the sub, mate. So, Florida very fortunate there that Smurf feeds as he did. When all he needed to do is wait a little bit. Smurf actually goes Winston, a little bit greedy. He's going to have to be careful. He doesn't have as much sustain. There's the Echo on the angle. She can't stay there because she doesn't have any healing.
Still, though, no honor. There's no nano boost to come down, so the combo isn't quite so natural.
There's the Iriarty with the Echo now. Then the Kiriko and the Hanzo and Winston on the other. So you got a pincer from Boston here. And we just want a big ult here. There it is. Now we pincer. Do we dive? Oh, we just killed him. Okay. Nice little pincer, though. Iliari, Hanzo. I want to know if someone was doing a good job controlling Hanzo, but honestly, even then, maybe he just couldn't. Birdring dies. That's a big ult. Forces them all out. Now, that's the weird thing with Iliari is you have to look at that and be like, okay, he didn't get any kills, but it forced a lot of space, and they win the fight off of it. It's a really nice setup pincer. And that's the shortcoming of Sigma, guys. It's like, when he's surrounded like that, he can't really take any action besides holding and waiting and shooting and holding and waiting and shooting. And I think it's... I understand why teams are picking Sigma, but it's also, I just don't know if it was the best option. And he's going to swap immediately on second point. RJ Hanzo kill 5? Oh yeah, definitely. So they're going to go D.Va on the retake. It's going to do better into the Winston. It's going to do better with the verticality of the map. It's going to do good versus Echo. And yeah, let's keep watching.
The ability to eat those stickies as well from Decay, eat a lot of the damage coming out from Ilari.
There's the copy. They're going to copy on D.Va, trying to build bomb, immediately demeched, but does get remeched back. They're going to counter with BAP window, but they're stuck in a choke, so they can't really do much. Decay is actually going to get a bomb. Smurf really screws up again. He tries to greed his primal and just dies. He doesn't even primal rage. I have no idea why he didn't primal rage there. Easy primal there. The D.Va bomb is used. You guys, you look at this. This is a primal rage feeding ground with the amount of split that's going on here. So again, Smurf makes a huge error. Florida trying to wrap around to the flank, but they've lost someone. So at some point, they're probably going to need to back out. They're a little split, though. Can they even get out? Someone's still without mech as well. There's the early Kiriko ult. They Kiriko plus primal. They get the kill. Smurf goes all the way into spawn. Merit's able to respawn back, but will it matter? Or will they just get cart? Maybe. No, they actually have to disengage. That's actually huge for Mayhem. They flipped around the back side while Smurf was trading frontline. Oh, surely this fight's over. No way this works, right? No way this works. No way it works. Wow. Somehow I didn't remember this, guys. I didn't remember this. I thought that they recontested. There's the visor. It's not going to matter, I don't think. They're trying to remech with that D.Va bomb. And that's it, yeah. A good response by Boston. Wow. Is Echo really strong? Yeah, Echo is pretty strong. It's more of a map situational pick. The verticality is really good. And obviously, the Iliari discourages things like Tracer and Sombra, so Echo is the next best choice. Again, it's more of a meta map thing than Echo being ridiculously OP. It's a good way of looking at it. Do you think Iliari's ult to get better in Al overtime? Yes. I think teams will get better at playing around it. I think the problem right now, I think if you look at somebody like, I saw some of Sir Magid's ultimates, I think there's too much greed. You play ranked too much with Iliario's ultimate, you know, and you're like, oh, I get 4Ks. But like, there's so many counters to it, whether it's barriers or just cover, you know. I think teams are going to realize that, hey, I'm just going to get a kill with it. I'm just going to shoot one squishy, shoot the squishy, get the kill. One kill is a kill. You know,
Very threatening in this type of situation.
why does Iliari discourage Tracer and Sombra? We talked about it earlier. Pylon, headshot, mobility.
Great healers to support him, but he's been
In that
managing
order.
that admirably well and still delivering for the team.
So now what I'm expecting to happen here, I don't remember what the swaps were. I would not be surprised if we saw Smurf go Diva. I would not be surprised if we saw Orisa again. I would not be surprised if we saw Torb or some other form of spam hero, or maybe Twilight go BAP.
A lot of votes for Florida Mayhem.
There's an early BAP window and a great pincer from Florida at the same time. You know, he's got two helpers here. I think this is both Checkmate and Merit. No, who is that? What is that?
In this fight.
Oh, it's Maka. So great pincer from Florida Mayhem with that window there. Love to see it.
There you go. Good. Great.
I think actually it's kind of funny because Twilight goes on his own solo flank. Twilight really should have been... Twilight and needed to be helping Birdring contest this a lot more than he was. This is way too many people of Boston in one small area, especially because you're the one running the Kiriko Echo and Soldier. Like this is, you guys should be winning these trades, or at least stalemating these trades. So this is a bit of a misplay from Boston macro-wise, but also from Twilight. I think not a good angle. It's tricky because you're close to ultimate, but it was really not good support play or DPS play there.
Alari is a support, but let's be real, she mainly does DPS.
So
Sniff the X in the window. A nice little clean team play execute. Ults to spare as well. Only using the window.
retake clear top. Make sure nobody's up there. Then they go back underneath.
I wonder if Smurf can get anything done with this primal rage.
Smurf getting crossfired as we speak. He's having a hard time trying to hide from damage from 7 different directions at once. They really need to put more attention over here. They do finally. Twilight gets his act together and gets rid of these guys on the flank. So then they were able to put their attention back on main. They actually get pincered. Like, Boston are trying to flip with Kiriko ult here. Super risky move, but it catches someone. Someone scouts it and goes, guys, turn around. But he's by himself because Florida's running away. Someone is running in. So a bit of a miscommunication there. That's going to demech someone, and that's a big deal because that opens the floodgates to anything else that Boston wants to throw out. Like, there is no matrix to protect versus anything that Boston has. Whether that's Iliari's ult, Kiriko ult damage, Soldier, Echo, anything. So will they gap? I honestly, chat, I watched this, but I don't remember. Checkmate's gonna go for May for the stall. I don't. Did Boston lost somebody, right? Who did they lose? Was it Izayaki?
I think all the pressure's on someone right here. He has to stay alive in this mech, get the D.Va bomb, and just manage the pressure because
yeah, because they're all back now.
You've got to be ready to stop that ultimate here.
Visor here, Kiriko flank. Echo is somewhere. Echo's on main. I think I would have liked. I think Izyaki's not playing aggressively enough on the angle. Maybe Izyaki's playing a little bit too passive. But it looked like a reasonable setup from Boston, but just not enough pressure from an off angle. It was really easy for Florida to just kind of turtle on point, especially with that May swap, right? You just sit on point for forever. You could just May wall off one angle, you know?
60 seconds to go for the Boston Uprising.
The Alari Kiri is because you just have 2 damage dealers basically playing for themselves. And you have enough sustain to be able to keep the Winston up. They're going to swap to Ana here. It's going to keep more sustain for the Winston. Maybe more of a playmaker with the nade. If Izayaki doesn't feel like there's enough space for him to take an angle to DPS Iliari, then he should probably go Ana. Because you can get value with Ana more on main with her range and with her nade. Soldier over Sojourn. Soldier's way more consistent. Sojourn requires you to build up a rail or to abuse your shift more. Because the mobility from Sojourn is better when you're getting dove, but it's more been pokey, and so the Sojourn shift hasn't been as useful. Off angle from the Winston, Kiriko follows. They actually go Genji, which I like as well for this short sightline. RuPaul is so low. They force the Winston bubble out really early. There's the wall on the Kiriko ult. I think the ult is from Maka is just totally wasted. A bit of a miscommunication there from Maka. He's going to get punished for it. D.Va can remech though. Oh, that's right. I remember this. This monstrous May ult from Checkmate. I want you guys to check this one out. No pun intended. Check this. Where is it? So they actually Maka ints. But Maka inting sets up everybody to turn around. And that sets up this Blizzard ult. So Maka feeds so that other people could carry. That was the strategy there.
Nice.
But yeah, I think Florida Mayhem's comp with the Diva and the May was just better equipped for that section of the map. Boston just wasn't able to utilize their mobility at all. They were not able to take good angles. They ended up getting stuck in these brawl wars where the Diva May are just going to be 10 times better. So,
Right, let's look at the defense then from comp.
check this one out, mate. Oh, did I say that? I didn't even realize the mate part.
We've got a spicy one.
Okay. All right. Here's the juice. All right. Hold on to your buttocks. Boston's composition is pretty good. You have a Ana Winston on a really good Ana Winston point, even post, Sombra Tracer nerfs, okay, or whatever. All right. Iari plays her own angle. Echo, good point for her. Soldier, good range for him. Florida is really rolling the dice with this composition because I'm telling you, if Izayaki hits a big nade and times it with Smurf plus stickies from Decay, it's over. What I want to see is how is Boston positioned for this? This is walkout, turret, clear high ground. Soldier's positioned well. Winston takes too much damage. Oh, no. Okay, so Izayaki's mispositioned. Well, because Izayaki, if Izayaki scouts this composition, chat, where should Izayaki be? Why Twilight Iari and Izayaki Ana? Probably because they're planning to swap at some point. And it might be that the Twilight is just better on Iari. Well, no, because they had it the other way around. I'm not sure. It's probably because they might be going to like Bap Iari later. Where should the Ana be? So the Ana just was here and then dropped. I think starting here or starting here, way better. Way better. Yeah. I mean, I think that's it. I think that's it. I think you just lose now because your Ana's on the floor. Huge stickies.
Very unlucky. Drone is held. That's huge.
But that's it. The nade is decent, but the nade happens after the stickies. So it's like nade, Ana drops, then stickies. And Winston's still out of this because Winston can't peek until there's like a big nade. And Mayhem is so smart because Mayhem knows that like they can't stay here forever because eventually they're going to get nade back, they're going to get stickies back, and Winston's going to jump. And even with the Ana in a crappy position, they're going to jump up and smoke them, right? So what do Mayhem do? They don't sit here. They're like, all right, we got some downtime, y'all. Let's make sure that they don't set this up. Because look, they're trying, look at that. Smurf goes, let's go. They're probably looking for nade as well. And they just totally checkmate this off angle. Thank you. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, this is huge, right? Bam. Look, get in there. Now, he almost got knocked off the map, but that completely shuts down this ability to like follow up off of this dive, right? Looks like nade was also blocked as well. And now someone can drop because this angle's cleared. Ana is basically MIA. Yes, he can't peel Winston, but he doesn't really care about Winston. So there's the turret in response to nade to bubble. You use turret then. And Checkmate just gets a kill. I think Checkmate just shoots down the corridor on our very left. I think that's how he gets that kill. So Florida's comp is like unbelievably risky. Unbelievably risky, but they play it well, and Boston doesn't play it well. Backline support, not particularly well done. I mean, Izayaki really scuffs that one with his initial positioning, and they don't land any nades. Hero bans sometimes. I feel like hero bans is such a massive can of worms that like maybe we'll talk about it. Okay, so this is kind of what we're talking about, right? Like you're gonna go full in spam, so then we're gonna go, all right, well, I can't play Iliari into this because I'm just gonna get shot by Hanzo, so I'm gonna go Kiriko and flank, right, which is the weakness, right? Yeah, I mean, then you slap an extra dive character, you pair these guys up. You have this guy on an angle, this guy pockets this guy. I really do think that both of these compositions have some logic. The reason they go Zen is because they are confident that on this point anyway, they can keep their Zenyatta in a safe spot, far enough away. Now, if there was one swap here, I think you would see them go off Zen. I think if you saw Decay on Tracer plus Kiriko, I think that's too hostile for Zen. I think it's too hostile for Zen.
Smurf is over to the Diva, so I feel like
D.Va Genji feel pretty good.
Still very greedy for Mayhem. I want to be very clear. Checkmate goes May. More of a comfort pick for him. Basically, okay, here, let me try and describe to you what May is. May is just her own thing. I don't know how to describe it. It's like when you play May at a really high level, it's not about like, oh, brawl, wall, tank, push, tank. You could do anything. You can go flank by yourself because you have self-sustain and like poke out the Genji. You can ego Hanzo if your mechanics are really good. You can't be one-shot anymore. Keep that in mind. You can wall off follow-up from the Ana. You can mark the Kiriko on a flank. Like, May is such a versatile DPSer. She doesn't have, like, outside of Brawl, like, a super, like, dominant strength. But especially if you're really good at it, like Checkmate, there's a lot of things that you can do with May. You can wall to high ground and take high ground away. Like, there's a lot of little things that you can take. So Checkmate's just like, Hanzo is, like, a little bit too fragile versus this stuff. So I'm going to go less fragile DPS that has a lot of flexibility and doesn't really demand a lot of support. May is the perfect pick. Why is Tracer more hostile than Genji? Because Genji, it's harder for Genji to get on top of Zenyatta if Zenyatta's positioning well. He'll play kind of far back and Genji can't quite reach him. Genji can't go on a flank by himself that long. He'll get scouted. Tracer can though. Tracer can though, especially with Kiriko Pocket.
Somewhat super low. Jeez.
That's a limit test.
Yeah, actual limit test. 50 HP or something like that.
So the Bastion is definitely the odd man out, especially with this D.Va swap right here. I don't remember what happens here, but the Bastion just isn't particularly good. I really like, I mean, this is exactly what we said was going to happen, right? Kiriko, Genji on the flank, on a D.Va up top. Hanzo just kind of shooting wherever. And so it's pretty easy for Hanzo here for them to just choke them out. There's an Nano Blade. I don't know why he goes for May first. Maybe they saw Ice Block, but that's obviously not generally a good play. It does force an ult for an ult, and they choke space out, so it's not the worst in the world. Nice nade there. It's going to kind of force Bastion to chill for a little bit. Kiriko still on the angle. I don't love Birdring's angle here. This feels way too short. On a Kiriko on top. There's the D.Va out. Smurf. And the nice thing, at least for Boston, is that like as badly as this has gone, you still have kept high ground and nobody has died. There's the May utility, by the way. Told you guys. Walls up. Can hold space. He gets booped off, but that's okay. Tracer, Hanzo pushing through. But do you guys see the mistake here? Do you guys see the mistake here? The mistake here is that Twilight stacks with Izayaki and stays for too long. As soon as Izayaki is safe, he needs to get out of dodge. He needs to go back with his Genji, back with his Hanzo, back DPSing on the Zen backline. He cannot be here. So what ends up happening is he ends up having the TP and Suzu when he should have already been here. And now he might die for it. Oh, he almost dies for it. I guess not. And then just C9. The best way of looking at this is that Boston just doesn't do enough pressure from their positions. They have all the power positions in the world. Florida does a really good job forcing point, avoiding getting spammed. But I think I'm going to point a couple of fingers. Twilight, not positioned well enough to do enough offensive pressure. I promise you, if Violet was on this flank here, they win this. Decay didn't do enough with the Nano. Birdring, basically zero impactful damage. I don't like his positioning here. I would have preferred Birdring to play more up in this position, up high here, for a longer sightline, and trust Decay and Twilight to control over here. I just don't think that Boston played it really well. And it's hard to say that, like, this is not something that you draw up. This is not something that you practice in scrims. So I think it's more about the hero competence and less about, like, oh, their macro is bad. It's like, this is just total chaos. But in that chaos, you have to find a rhyme or reason with what you're doing, and Boston was not able to do it. Is Bastion meta? Very, very situational. And still extremely cheesy. To be perfectly frank, given that situation on that map, Boston should be kicking themselves for losing that. Now, and the funny thing is that Florida are now once again in a situation where their comp is actually pretty good. In fact, that's why Twilight goes in here, is because, again, fewer flanks on third point, so you'd rather just have the raw spam on main. You're gonna lose the Nano Blade here, but after Nano Blade, you're cooking here. You still might swap off the Bastion because, you know, Bastion is a little bit of a troll. Surprised RuPaul's BAP windowing here now that somebody was already dead, but, you know, maybe he saw something. Really nice little play there from Decay. Love to see it. Genji play is always fun. He's actually going to go back and swap to Sojourn. Now, I'm not gonna lie with you guys.
Switch defense.
I don't get it. I really don't get it. I don't think Sojourn makes a lot of sense in this. You can build rail fairly fast off of Sigma Shield, but these it's not bad. I just think that like when you look at a BAP Zen backline with Bastion and on a really congested point, why would you not want to play Genji here? I don't understand some of these swaps, to be honest with you. I don't think Sojourn's bad. I just don't see the reason behind going Genji. Even without Nano, Genji can do a lot versus this. Would you say Iliari should be nerfed based on the first? No, I don't think so. Not any more nerfed than where she's at. But I would say wait and see. So really strange swaps from Boston. They also then go Doomfist, which is kind of strange. And then Soldier is definitely not the play. Checkmate goes Genji, which I like. I think May could have worked as well. Yeah, I see he goes Soldier. Like that makes even less sense. Actually, that's not true. It makes about the same amount of sense. I don't know. I don't like Boston's comp. I don't love the comp. I think the Genji's the Bash is definitely kind of weird, but Mayhem's comp just feels like a more like cohesive spam comp. And somehow Birdering just freaking dies. I don't know what happens, to be honest with you guys. I don't know if he got shot or CC'd. Really bad Bastion ult from Merit. That one ticks me off. I freaking guys. I know platinum Bastions who could have ulted better than this. How should you do this ultimate? Well, you would ult here, force him to run this direction, then ult here, and then based off of his direction that he was running, either lead him here or double back here. Very easy to kill Decay here. 1, 2, and he spams 2 in the same spot, basically. Decay should have died. That's a poor Bastion ult. That's a bad Bastion ult. He should have died. But it doesn't matter. Florida's going to win. Boston looks totally out of their element. Florida, say what you will, when these weird comps start to go crazy, they find a way to kind of keep it together with their macro, with their communication, whatever the case may be, and they do a good job with it. Boston, I would not even say had a compositional disadvantage until third point, but they just look totally lost. Totally lost. Yeah. Okay. So, very, very, very interesting. A lot of mess. And we are on to Flashpoint. Now, this is where I really wanted to talk a little bit about some of the compositions that we're seeing here. Any questions so far pertaining to like what we're talking about here? And honestly, if you want to ask about what we're seeing on our screen right now, it's fair game, because this is an interesting one. Hello, Shark Adam. Yeah. Oh, Jungler Queen Flashpoint. Jungler Queen Flashpoint. Okay, so let's talk about Flashpoint. All right. There's a lot of variables at play. Speed, very useful. Getting from point A to point B, getting out of spawn, super useful. Speed in general, not just Lucio, very useful. Getting from point A to point B. The other thing you guys have to understand about Flashpoint is, especially on some of the points, I had a question the other day. Was it, who was it from? Was it from I don't remember who was it from. I had a coaching session. And the guy asked me, he's like, how do you position on Flashpoint? I think it was like, and I was like, there are no positions to memorize most of the time. You really have to kind of respond like with where your team is rotating to and where the enemy team is rotating to. Because a lot of these points, you don't really know. It might be here, it might be there, it might be here, it might be there. And again, that kind of goes to my point where like speed is super valuable, because you look at something like an Ana, she might be too slow. So if you rotate here, but the enemy team rotates here, you got to get your grandma, you got to pull up your skirt, you know, you got to go, wait for me, you know, you got to move, girl. And Kiriko is just really freaking good at that. You know what I'm saying? And Ana's not. And so that's why you're seeing this setup, is because having supports that can move, rotate, and proactively take space super fast is super valuable. And that's also why you're seeing things like Doomfist, because Doomfist doesn't need to wait for his Winston bubble. He doesn't need proper staging. He just goes wherever he wants to go, right? And that's also why you see Jungler Queen. She's got her own inherent speed boost. She's a lot more flexible to positioning. And if you're going to be running a Kiriko Lucio backline, there are only so many tanks that you can run. Jungler Queen, Doom, and Orisa to a lesser extent. Orisa's a little bit harder because she demands a little bit more healing, but it's doable. So you start with your support lineup needing to be flexible, and your DPS line also needs to be flexible. But I think DPS is like less, like you can play Soldier, Sojourn, Genji, Tracer. There's like a lot of heroes that can work with Kiriko Lucio, right? So that's the key takeaway. That's why we're seeing these compositions right here. Now, what's interesting is some of the different reads of this matchup, right? So, for example, Birdring prefers Sojourn over Soldier. I think that's reasonable. Sojourn doesn't demand a lot of healing. There isn't a lot of poke damage that prevents her from building rail in these Kiriko Lucio compositions. If they go dive, which is very popular on Flashpoint. Now, why is dive popular on Flashpoint and not Illari? Well, because, okay, here we go. All right. Why are teams not running Illari Bunker on Flashpoint? Why? We've seen it a little bit. We even heard that from Scrimbucks it was more popular before Illari got nerfed. But why are teams not running BAP, Illari, Orisa, Torb? Why is it? Too many flanks and angles, slow to rotate, too many angles. Why on Flashpoint, right? You can't bunker because you have to move so much. Exactly. The other thing as well, guys, all right, look. The problem, the weakness of Illari, you guys talk about Ana Brig, okay? They're posturing in the back line, they're pocketing their Winston, and Winston dives, Sombra dives, Tracer dives, right? Illari says, screw off. No, you cannot do that. Well, everybody's gangster until Ana puts on her jogging shorts and Brig puts on her speed skates and zooms in with the dive, and then Illari isn't saying no, Illari's saying no, because she gets trucked, absolutely smoked. So my point here is that when you can get the backline involved in pushing with the dive, Illari gets run over. You get run over. The turret doesn't matter if you're running her over with like 4 or 5 people. So it's not just because speed boost allows you to rotate and set up angles and speed from point A to point B. Speed boost also allows you to just get on top of her and run her over. And these maps are, while they feel open in spots, generally around point, it's a little bit congested. It's kind of short sightlines. So it's pretty easy. Like if you were to roll out an Illari Bat Brig here or something like that, or Bat Illari, this composition would run you over, at least in theory. Now, I still think it's tricky. I think it's tricky enough that I would not be surprised if we saw some teams try and BAP Illari. In fact, what is it? There's one Korean contenders team that's finding success with it, but it's a lot harder on these maps because it is pretty easy for this composition to get really close and run you over, and this composition to get pretty close and run you over. So a 5-man dive is good against Illari? Yes, exactly. Even Brawl, like I'm not surprised at all to see London still forcing Ryan comps on these maps because now again, am I confident? No, but in theory, a Ryan comp when played really well can still push down an Illari. She would have to like take an angle or something like that. So now, why are they Genji instead of Reaper? Okay, you've really tickled the giblets right there. I'm not gonna lie with you. Because, okay, there's so many different ways where this meta could go. I really don't know where you're going to go. I think Kiriko Lucio are not here to stay necessarily, but are probably going to remain relatively popular on this one. All right? Everything else is up for grabs. Everything else is up for grabs. I don't like Soldier. I think Soldier's good because he's super fast and because he has nice poke damage. But unless you're getting nice poke damage, if he gets pressured, Soldier just has to run. Sojourn's slide is 10 times better, but Sojourn doesn't have the poke damage. So I honestly could see either one. I personally favor the Sojourn just a little bit, but also Sojourn's a lot worse versus Orisa, I think, because of the lack of pressure damage. Genji is more because, hey, Genji good versus Soldier and Sojourn is okay. But what happens if we stop seeing Orisa? What happens if it becomes a Winston mirror? Then all of a sudden, guys, we're back in 2022 AL Grand Finals. I think we would go back to Reaper Sojourn. I think there's a real chance. But then if we see like Doomfist or Orisa staying or Junker Queen, then we probably don't see Reaper, because Reaper is gonna be spending half the map chasing Doomfist around the map, and he doesn't want to play versus Orisa. Orisa's not a good matchup for Reaper, so then we probably see more Genji or Sojourn, you know? So I think like it's gonna depend on, teams are gonna keep jockeying back and forth with these different variations, where both of these variations are technically currently meta right now, but everything's up for change. I might review Contenders EU finals. So I don't know. I think we got a lot here. I don't like the one problem about going back to grand finals, and why I think that there is a chance of it, but I wouldn't say it's for sure going to happen, is because Winston Kiri does not have a very good synergy like it used to. Kiriko's HPS got nerfed too hard, and Winston with Kiriko is hard. You have to play super disciplined. You know what I'm saying? So like it's hard. That's why a lot of teams are running the Orisa and they're running the JQ, because it's freaking hard to run Winston with Kiriko. Yeah. I think like Apollify was saying, thank you, Jasmosis Jones. I think like I just don't like the Soldier that much. I don't like the Soldier that much. I think the Soldier is probably really, really good if they're not on Winston. I think if I see Winston, I immediately want Sojourn. And if I see Doomfist even, I think I immediately want Sojourn as well. I think Junker Queen, Orisa may be a little bit slower, so you can get that range damage put out more, but that shift just becomes so valuable. So anyway, that's TLDR why teams aren't playing as much Iliari here. I don't think Iliari is dead here, but remember, you really cannot run Iliari Lucio, like, because you can't heal your Winston. You could run it with an Orisa maybe, but you just have no ranged heal option at all, and so it really hurts. Anyway, am I an avid Cloudy watcher by any chance? I'm a big fan of Cloudy. I did a collaboration with him not too long ago. He's a smart guy. Good guy too. So that's why no Iliari. I hope that kind of makes sense. Speed important. Being able to run over Iliari with 5-man, whether that's Winston, Orisa, Junker Queen, Doomfist, is really strong. I think Doomfist, I actually think like if you're a really good Doomfist, I freaking love Doomfist on this mode. I think Doomfist is busted with Kiriko Lucio. There's just not a lot of damage that can kill you, so I think it's really good.
The two-person dive will be beautiful, but getting spears burn and like,
so you're gonna notice here like how much more aggressively these guys are postured with the Sojourn, right? And how much more defensively Merit, for example, is positioned, right? Way further back, way more range damage, and then he gets railed. That's so tragic. Poor guy.
Okay, what if Flora gonna? Okay, it looks like Florida is just gonna instantly disengage. They know they
I mean, the Soldier, it's tough because you can do a lot of damage to tanks as Soldier. I think that's the main value of Soldier in this particular matchup is you could, even Orisa takes a lot of damage from Soldier, right? But if you are unable to get an angle without being dove, you know, and then rail becomes a problem. I think this is where I think this is maybe where it comes to the hero strengths, but a Sojourn swap here, it needed to happen. This is where Florida lost this map. Okay, you roll out in Soldier because you might see JQ, you might see Orisa, heck, you might even see Iliari, where like a Soldier would be really, really good to have that self-sustained solo flank, break the turret, right? Better than Sojourn. But as soon as you see this, I think you're trolling if you don't go Sojourn. You don't lose any old charge. I think this is a mistake. I'm talking about it right now, Smithsonian. We had a nice long conversation about it. You just missed it. I think the Sojourn versus the Winston is just feels so good, and especially when you go Winston of your own, I just see no reason for it. Because you could run an Orisa and just like put perma pressure on their Winston to prevent him from diving your Soldier, but then now, especially now that you've gone Winston, you need Sojourn. Because again, you guys look at this and like, oh my gosh, like look how much damage he's doing, right? But nothing dies. And then if Boston lives and they pop Kiriko ult or use their dive, you get run over. Or you run and do nothing. That's the thing. It's the difference between Soldier and Sojourn. Soldier can live, but he has to run. He can't shoot and run at the same time. I wouldn't say this fight was too complicated. I think getting first Kiriko ult is really important, and they chase down RuPaul before we can get his off. Again, I normally get super obsessive over like macro, micro, matchups, timing, you know, all that kind of stuff. But I wanted to focus more on the comps this one. Because honestly, it's kind of fun. Yeah, I'm also surprised that Merit has an argument for being like top 2, maybe even, I would say top 2 or 3 Sojourns in the world. His Sojourn is ridiculous. I would say at least right now. I mean, I think could even be the best Sojourn in the world mechanically. So it's not even a hero comfort thing. They're gonna Kiriko ult here. They actually beat engage. They chase. Decay responds with blade. Checkmate doesn't have deflect or something. No, he dies to Winston. He doesn't get beat. They beat back in response. And RuPaul gets the Kiriko. They stack Kiriko and they Kiriko visor. Soldier just gets smoked. I don't know. And someone also commits primal down one, so this is a really bad fight ult-wise. Much better execution for Boston. And this is where we get the juice, guys. This is where we get the juice. Reaper Sojourn, we're back, baby. We're back. I like this, man. I like this. Like, if you're look, here's the thing. Why would you play I mean, Genji I think is actually pretty good versus Soldier, but like you could just abuse the enemy Winston and Kiriko Lucio. Like I think the Reaper's good. I think the Reaper's okay. It's definitely, Reaper is always a meta pick, not a meta setter. In other words, Reaper is never strong enough to force a comp build around him. He just happens to synergize really well with the hero picks. You know what I'm saying? But hey, I actually think it's fairly reasonable. It's fairly reasonable.
Florida has been great on these, like, you know, new meta comps, but when it comes
now, I'm not convinced that it's immediately better. I think Sojourn Genji would still be really good.
I think of Iriko as a supplementary support rather than the primary.
I think she's somewhere in between. That's the tricky part with Kiriko, is like I don't think she's an off healer, whatever that means anymore. But she doesn't put out enough healing to sustain some tanks. Yes, so yeah, I think it's tricky. Hey Zutter. Yeah. So anyway, I think. Sojourn Genji versus Reaper Genji, I actually don't know which one's better. I think it might be point specific, right? If the Sojourn, the Genji can get good spam, because the Genji could do pretty good damage too, right? Plus ult economy. But I just for the sake of the memes, I think the Reaper swap is good, and I do think it is objectively good. It's contestable about whether it's best, but it is very, very reasonable.
Yeah, it kind of works too, right? I mean, a lot of close quarters action going down.
A little bit of an early bubble from Smurf. I'm not sure if that was to try and bait a re-engage so they could Kiriko ult, but that was kind of a bad trade there. It does force them to walk forward, so maybe they Suzu, what am I saying? So, and that's it right there. I mean, look at that. He's still doing damage while being dove. I mean, that's it right there. There's your Sojourn value, right? Being dove and still shooting. So Checkmate maybe overcommits. It definitely looks like Florida kind of left him out to dry, but yeah. And then this really ticked me off, guys. Look, they're going mirror, and they still keep the Soldier. Come on, guys. Now you've really got a fragile, backline, because now it's like Smurf is coming up on Primal Rage. Merit is dead. Like if Smurf plays his Primal right, Merit just dies. Good brig potentially. Too slow. You could run like crap. What could you do? You could do like JQ, Brig, Iliari, Genji, Soldier, or something goofy like that. But I don't think that'd be very good for the game mode.
All right, Palace up next. Alrighty.
Or yeah.
Playoffs comp. Let's go, Reaper Gaming. WM1 action. Pretty nice high ground control from the Florida main.
Nice little Sojourn E from Birdring. A lot of ult charge, a lot of pressure from that. They're trying to rotate Merit onto high ground, and it looks like they might be trying to catch backline too. Merit does get the high ground, so that is helpful. You do get your soul. No, he doesn't get the high ground. He leaves it. He stacks in his backline. Nice little crossfire there from Smurf, but Merit really can't ego that, because if he gets too close, he just gets primaled. There's the Reaper. Reaper front line, Winston. I mean, this is a perfect little engager. Check this out. Off angle, backline support. Someone should get toasted here. And look at that. Look at how many people he's contesting by himself. And then the Primal Rage. So even with the Kiriko ult, someone is still in trouble. He gets the juggle. Where's Merit? Grabs the Mega. Have a stalemate, though. They force someone out, though. There's the Primal Rage. Smurf is going to die. Yeah, but they trade, though. Nice beat from Boston. Mid-fight Reaper ult. Did they do it? Nope. There's Visor. Now, the nice thing is that Mayhem was able to keep the Soldier up that fight. I'm not sure if Smurf prioritized RuPaul, but regardless, TLDR is that Merit was able to provide value there just because there wasn't a lot of pressure on him. Is there a world where Jotes could be running Flashpoint? Oh, yeah. Junker Queen Goats, I think, would be very good versus this. Would it be the best composition? I don't know. But yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Junker Queen Lucio, definitely a strong comp in this.
A lot of respect being shown by Merit. Knows how good the players of the boss.
Smurf expected to get beat there for sure. Yeah, that was the big unfortunate there. He didn't get beat. Brig Lucio and APAC. Honestly, Brig Lucio isn't terrible. You would need to run it with JQ, obviously, or Doomfist, but it could work. Same kind of thing, right? Brig is not exactly the slowest support in the game anymore. Not with new Shield Bash, right? And obviously you have packs for your DPS on angles, so it can work. Kirikou ult, there's the Death Blossom, and there it is, right? Reaper ult, so powerful when people have used cooldowns. Like if you look at this comp, we've talked, one of the things with the Reaper ult is Boop, Suzu, Bubble, Slide, even just the Reaper shooting, or Wraith, counters Reaper ult. But when none of those cooldowns are down, you kill everybody. That's Reaper ult in a nutshell. It's the Reaper ult in Ranked, it's Reaper ult in Overwatch League. It's the same thing. Sojourn's just doing so much damage. Nice little dive there. They might be able to... Ooh, they get the flip though. Smurf needs to live. Actually, unbelievable that Smurf lives that. That's actually crazy.
And just get back onto the point. I think they're gonna threaten the cap here. This Kitsune rush could be so hard to recontest into. Smurf low HP, wrapping around, see if he can find something.
Dude, they taxi.
Very threatening.
Are they gonna charge? Yes. Smurf gets in just in time.
Yeah, they taxi Kiriko. Look at that. Wow, that's some nice team play right there. They touch the last possible second in OT. They get Twilight on the respawn. They force the Kiriko ult. And honestly, like, if you're Boston, I think you're okay with that. Like, you took the L, but you forced Kiriko ult, so it's not the end of the world.
They'll take the map.
This is great patience being shown by the Florida Mayhem there. I think
cheers, mate.
3-on-3 resolved a little bit. Florida could have been over aggressive. They could have tried to chase those kills, but they're patient. They know Kitsune on point is going to be very dominant. It's the part in that fight, and they save it for the perfect moment.
Now, this is the moment of truth here. Does Visor do anything when you just get beat rushed? Ah, there's the little stalemate, both looking at each other, both rotating a point.
He's a little way away, so I like this.
See, dude, where are Soldier's sightlines here, man? Like, where can Soldier play here that he doesn't just get immediately dove? I swear, everywhere he peeks, he could get dove. He's trying to greet it there, but Winston even looks at him, he has to run away. You see, this is what ends up happening, is Merit's just like, okay, then I guess that's just it. RuPaul just dies. But I'm just not even convinced that it matters. Like, Merit just instantly dies, even with Suzu. He's dead. There's nowhere he can go. So RuPaul dies, but I think the weakness of the Soldier is like really exemplified there. Especially in this point, there's nowhere for him to play where he can't get dove. Sombra for Soldier here? No, I don't think so. I don't think that would change a lot. I mean, he'd be impossible to kill, Sombra would, but I don't think you'd do enough.
Really proving his worth there, and I love this forward hold setup here.
See what we got here.
Is gonna like to hold a little bit further back.
Potential here too. A lot of ways to escape, though. To be fair, Kiriko, etc. can just
point pressure with Reaper. They're gonna drop. It's gonna nice little force of Wraith there. That was some nice. But then Checkmate dies. Does he get booped? Yeah, he gets booped. Haha, dude, that boop distance is actually crazy. He dies before he even hits the bottom. Look at this. Look at this. Already in the kill feed. And that's actually insane. That's actually insane. That boop here, I mean, how many times have you guys played this map and been like, oh, I forgot, you know? I forgot.
He does TP out as the Boston Uprising now playing a little bit more passive. They know how much damage they've already done.
Torb could work if you were committing to like the slower style. Yeah, we've seen some Torb success here. But you'd have to fully commit to it. Boop with that, the Suzu from Twilight is way too late for that Reaper ult. So he gets booped. I mean, these guys would have died if the Suzu had been there earlier. Kitsune comes in response. Will it matter? No. Yeah. Alright, guys. Here's the thing. If you're gonna play Kiri Lucio versus something like a Winston, you need to get off the Soldier. I really do think that was not the majority of the reason why they lost. There's many other things that matter besides the Soldier, but I do think that was one of the key contributing points. Doesn't mean that you should be flaming any team that runs Soldier here. I can see it working very well versus the Orisa, the JQ. It could even work very well with the Iliari. You could run Soldier with that, but I don't like Florida's swaps here. Don't like it. And again, we're focusing less on team play this review, so just keep that in mind. All right, any questions so far? E for Gore, yeah. My MVP Lip would never run Soldier? Exactly. Yeah. Notice that someone never played Soldier, you know? So I'm not saying that someone's MVP, but someone never ran Soldier, so it's not his fault. What's the dynamic of fight mid rotations from a previous point? Oh, it's because both teams were on the way to a point, and then both kind of looked at each other like, hey, we could fight each other if you want to right now. And then Boston goes, yeah, you got the high ground, I don't want to fight you, and runs away. That was pretty much what happened. But that might happen sometimes where teams meet each other on the way to the next point and decide that they want to take a fight. What could have Boston done different on Dorado? I don't know, we'll get there. Why do they say play Soldier so much? It's because I don't think Soldier's bad. I just don't think he's the optimal pick. And I also don't think he's the optimal pick in this particular situation. You guys have to understand that we have the power of hindsight right now. Like, we're going back and we're going, oh, because they're on Winston and, you know, whatever. And that's just our best guess. But if they roll out on Orisa, right, I think Soldier's probably better than Sojourn in a lot of the circumstances. And so what happens is in the heat of the match, or there's the comfort pick, or that's what he's been playing. So that's what he's playing, you know? Who are 5 superb bat players? I mean, I don't know. You probably know as well as I do. I think UV, Shu are 2 of the obvious ones. I think RuPaul is another top one off the top of my head. I haven't seen enough Batiste from some of the other support players to tell you. Violet, probably, yeah. But those are the top 3 that immediately come to mind. But I haven't seen a lot of the other guys play BAP in a while. Reaper instead of Tracer, it's just the matchup. Reaper does well in that matchup versus the Winston tank with the Kiriko Lucio. Viability of Bastion, cheese pick, depends on the map. Definitely a situational pick, but definitely still a cheese pick. Hex Gleam. Can somebody put in my Hammer Time or my content suggestions thing in my Discord to look at the EU Grand Finals? I might take a look at it. Yeah, Landon is really good as well, of course. It's hard to compare Landon, though, and why I avoided putting him in the conversation, because the situations in which Landon plays Batiste are like bat versus like dive, you know, like brawl versus dive. So it's always hard to get like an actual read. He's very good at the character, but like he plays it in the same matchup over and over and over again, and in the matchup it's gonna make him look terrible. So it's like it's really hard to get like an actual read. What's up recently? What's up, Chris? Yeah, okay, let's take a look here. So finally, Florida have seen the light. They are on the OWL Grand Finals composition. Birdring is almost certainly going to swap to Sojourn? Probably is the safe guess here.
Playoffs matter. Here we go, baby.
Could be Tracer as well. Not a terrible Tracer map. Oh, they stay. Oh, that's right, chat. I forgot. They stayed. Okay. Let's talk about the Symmetra pick. It's freaking weird, guys. It's freaking weird. But there's some logic behind it, all right? First things first, I don't like this composition versus this composition. I think this composition should just go, see ya, use their mobility to get away, and they just stand there and look stupid, right? I also think that when they don't have TP, these guys are very fragile to a dive. Now, I will say that Reaper isn't exactly the choice pick for this situation. It's more of a mirror matchup, and I promise you that Checkmate was on Reaper because they were expecting mirror. So Boston has kind of pulled some shenanigans out of there. And here's the question. Why would you run Junker Queen with a Sim and not Reinhardt? And please don't say, oh, because Smurf doesn't want to play Reinhardt, because that's the obvious and easy answer. But we want something complicated, overly complicated, because it's fun. What does Junker Queen do to Symmetra? Shout, yes. I don't think Symmetra really freaking cares about a Rhine barrier when you're playing versus a Winston, Sojourn, Kiriko, Lucio that's going to run on top of you. You want the shout. Right. So you TP plus shout so you can survive the teleport. And that's exactly what I think we're going to see. If I remember correctly. I almost forgot about this composition. I'm not going to lie to you guys. So is it cheesy? Yes. Is it going to work? I don't know. We'll find out. Junker Queen good also to bully Winston? Exactly. Yep. So Boston's comp is weird. Okay. There is a character here that I don't love. Actually, you know what? No, frick. Like, okay, I don't love BAP, but you kind of want BAP because you need shift and lamp for the Symmetra. Because that helps keep the Symmetra up. But then Genji's weird. Because Genji's kind of anti, like this composition is just a mess. It's a mess. There's a lot of synergy. There's a lot of anti-synergy. So yeah, let's just see. Why not Bastion instead of Genji? Yeah. Honestly, yeah. Because Bastion has the survivability. He also benefits from shift and lamp and with the armor overheal or the armor heal. Yeah. It could work. Kiriko would work if they weren't on Symmetra. But you need BAP and lamp, shift and lamp to keep the Symmetra up. So I feel like Boston should like hard commit to either Bastion Sim with BAP, Junker Queen, or go like Kiriko and do like, I don't know, like Tracer Genji, Sojourn Genji, something like that. But, you know, we'll see. There it is. There's the shout. Huge boop. And then someone, Shorong, just need to get out, and I think they just don't. You know, it's like you don't have to force anything on the TP. Florida chooses to, but in the chaos, they actually lose the fight. Because, you know, shocker, Junker Queen and it charged up. So, I mean, look at Birdring, guys. Birdring died and got 50-something% ult charge in one trade. Oh, that's a nice knife. So, yeah, and this is where we need to get off the Reaper, right? Because Reaper doesn't really want to get up and close to these guys necessarily, because as soon as Winston Bubble expires, he's dead. So Checkmate's going to go, all right, you're going to corn me. I'm just going to pick my comfort pick and just play games with you. Is Ana bad? Because no, yeah, the Ana just wouldn't keep up the Symmetra. The Ana wouldn't, you would take the TP and Ana would nade her feet, hopefully hit a couple of people, and then immediately die. You need something that keeps, like, everything is revolving around Symmetra. Everything. Everything is revolving around Symmetra. The shout, the lamp, the speed, even the Genji, because you're running Genji because he doesn't demand resources. That's the only weakness of the Symmetra Bastion is that you have two characters that you have to babysit instead of just one.
We're going into the back line, and that's, I mean, that's a
yeah, Checkmate just does his own thing. Checkmate does his own thing. There is no real rhyme or reason behind the Mei pick besides the fact that, hey, Mei doesn't instantly die to this comp. Mei can shoot these guys pretty nice, and the ult is pretty good. Wall is also valuable, but Checkmate's just good at me.
Sim is one of the most threatening DPS in the game if you get that online.
What happened to Checkmate's HP?
Sim is one of the most threatening DPS.
Oh yeah, he ate 2 Sim orbs. Unfortunate. Kind of slow of Florida to heal that, so.
After that damage nerf, and so it's a bit of a mistake. It's going to be costly for Florida. Like, might be even a checkpoint.
The whole match's picks seem very exploratory. I mean, yes, exactly. That's why I wanted to look at this match. So much of this is basically people throwing and picking the wrong character or coming up with something genius. And honestly, I don't even think we're in a very good position to tell which one's throwing and which one's genius, you know, because it's just, like you said, very exploratory. We don't really know right now. We're just guessing. Deep dive. Boops them out of TP, so they get just a wee bit of damage. Merit's here. Merit has to shift out. Wall blocks out that. Kiriko ult is good. Big choppity. But you notice how Florida's just kind of surrounded, right? They've been unable to, like, Boston has been unable to lock down any one of the characters because Florida is utilizing their mobility much better than they did last time, and they win.
Boston Uprising hesitating a little bit. Didn't end up capping that.
Stopping checkpoint was huge there.
Ults for Boston, they are very useful, but like,
Okay,
you know,
here we go.
the beat comes down from
Big
Solo.
fight for Boston. You got to win this one. This is your ult dump here, right? So
That might be really tough.
Yeah, without a beat of their own, yeah. Tough.
there's the shout, there's the sim wall, there's the rush, choppity chop, there's the blade, countered by beat, and Birdring just freaking dies.
Really tough.
Yeah, without a beat of their own, yeah. Tough.
I think this is a mistake. I don't want to talk as much about macro, but I am going to talk about macro a little bit here. Why is this a mistake, ladies and gentlemen? What's from Boston? Why is this a mistake?
Shout onto high ground. Checkmate, rather cool, just chilling around. And there you go.
Think about it very carefully. Ult tracking, yeah. I mean, they did force beat. I think they did force Suzu. My problem here is I just don't see any world in which a Junker Queen shout can keep a Symmetra up, even inside Simwall, versus a Sojourn, Mei, Winston, Lucio, Kiriko when this composition beats. You TP'd into them, and then they beat. You're gonna die. Like doesn't matter if you lamp or shift or shot. You're dead. You're dead. I just don't see how this works. And certainly, as you guys are saying, not committing both DPS ults, so allowing the beat to counter 2 ultimates. When I guarantee you, just TPing into Simwall would have forced the beat. So I would have preferred. You guys say the backline is better suited for a slow fight. Yes, the ults are better suited for a slow fight. Yes. Yeah, I mean, really, you just don't want to force into a primal beat with this, or even especially close to Blizzard. It just no. If they didn't have beat, this would have worked very nicely. They did. It doesn't work, and it's not even close. It's just a poor fight plan. Really poor fight plan from Boston.
Speaking about survival, there is no chance there. Nice, not quite a stagger.
Yes, Aerodog, yes. TP shout or in plus Simwall even. And then I honestly, like, I don't even know if that's the play. I feel like probably rotating to top, trying to spam, and then using Simwall maybe even early and trying or focus something down, then Simwall and save shout. Something like that. Or shouting and then Sim TPing afterwards. I just see no way this is going to work. Decay is going to go Reaper, which is fine. I think this is like kind of like, really you can look at this and be like, these are just basically different variations of the same comp, just different flavors. Mei versus Reaper, hero comfort picks. I do think the Mei does very nicely versus the Junker Queen, but I also think that the Reaper does very well versus the Winston. In fact, the only character that doesn't make sense here is the Baptiste, because I don't think you need that sustain, and he's pretty fragile himself, but the only reason he's staying is because BAP window. So we're kind of back to no, the beat does not penetrate wall, but smart Lucios will split it and get it on both sides because there's a active duration. So we're back to kind of comfort comps here. Nice bait on the beat, or on the window, wall, disengage. They also use shout as well, do Boston, and so it's a really nice kite from Florida. And Florida's not in any rush. They have to win a fight anyway, so they don't, doesn't matter really when. Drops. And I want you guys to notice checkmate here. Why does checkmate Blizzard? Yeah, I think it's worth it to stay for window. It just needed to be a better window. Florida always plays this bridge defense perfectly. Indeed, they do. They're really good at this bridge defense, regardless of the meta. Check this out. Watch. I want you guys to look very carefully. What does checkmate see? Yeah. Sojourn slide. Watch Birdring. Drops on Birdring. Birdring slides out way too early. I don't even know why he slides out, because it's just Mei, and he has Junker Queen shout. Checkmate then throws the Blizzard ult after the Sojourn, and not only does it force a nice little split here, but there you go. Now it actually ends up catching Liege going as well, but that's just the juice on top. There's Kiriko. There's a nice wall onto the Junker Queen ult, but the Junker Queen ult honestly wasn't good either way. Primal Rage is used as well. Florida kind of over ults this. Honestly, only Primal or Kiriko were needed. Definitely not both. So it's a bit unfortunate ult economy wise for Mayhem, but they will get the lead off of it. Credit goes to Checkmate. That was a beautiful Blizzard ultimate.
Feeling a map 5 coming on. I'm feeling like Florida is playing here on Esperanza, and so yeah, Boston gonna go over like come.
So again, high ground defense from Florida, especially into the beat here. There really is no reason for you guys, for anyone to be doing anything here. Just hold the high ground with your Sojourn ult, shoot cart. You have the lead. They have beat. Just stand there. And like we said, Florida is really, really good at this. Now, Boston does a great job. Notice that they actually rotate underneath bridge to where they can't be spammed and push cart forward. Now, once again, we have another Colosseo classic where you can contest cart from top, which kind of sucks. But honestly, not a bad response for Boston. And so they kind of force the robot forward. There's the Sojourn ult. And honestly, things get really messy here, guys. I'm not going to lie with you guys. Beat for beat, Sojourn ult in the middle of nowhere. Merit gets a fat E. Honestly, it ain't really that deep. Without looking too in detail, both teams trade ultimates. One team has 2 ultimates, one team has 1, and that's mostly the difference. The Sojourn ultimate was a really big deal there. But yeah, I think without going into too into details there.
God, Merit is a monster on this hero, man. I'm so happy to see.
Oasis quick play game yesterday? Maybe. I don't always have chat turned on, so it might have been.
Boston limb from limb right now. Birdring has the chance to answer back.
I wasn't egoing you.
We'll see if he can make it look good here.
Shorehung is trolling the lobby.
Has the chance to answer back here with the overclock.
I was on DPS. I don't remember, honestly.
Oh.
Chorong feeds. Good little off angle.
Okay, overclock down. There's Twilight with the old push the rush near the point, but someone with the primal rate.
What happens here? How does Birdring die? Is it just a mechanical play?
We'll see if he can make it look good here. See if he can match.
Yeah, he eats a big Sojourn E and then gets donked in the head. They get Suzu out. Nice jump from someone. I mean, look at the juice there. He isolates Twilight, who uses ult, but because Suzu and no TP is not able to get out. Uh-oh. Kind of messy, though. So a lot of ult use from Boston.
I feel like Florida, they're all going to get forward spawns. That was a fight from Boston Uprising, and only someone's primal is still, though. Birdring's overclock is always a threat. Even if there's nothing to back it up, you sometimes don't need any more than this guy on the Sojourn.
But Merit is built up.
Again, Florida pretty comfortable to stalemate it, not force anything right now. There's the Sojourn ult. There's the Kiriko ult in response. They need to be very careful not to get their head blown off. They do. Birdring slides out, and then the Blizzard. Ladies and gentlemen, he does it again. He can't keep getting away with it. Look at it. Check it. There it is. And that's it. I don't know why Merit uses his ult, though. I'm not going to lie. I think it's a bit of a throw from Florida in terms of ult economy again, but the amount of value they're getting from Blizzard into a Winston, Sojourn, Kiri, Lucio comp, it's ridiculous! Holy moly.
Who's been just on fire this whole series in control of them. They've unlocked the forward spawns once more. And
what is a must-have here for DPS? Is it Genji for the meta, or is it someone else? I don't think there is any must-have Genji. If you're asking for GM plus, then I can, but I think whatever character you enjoy playing is going to be your must-have, honestly. Really, truly. Okay, this is absolute top-tier ult tracking. They know Li Gong has beat. I promise you they're tracking that he has beat, even though he's 87%. They think that he has beat. So like, all right, guys, let's find Lucio. Let's freaking kill this guy and prevent him from beating. So they beat, they rush Lucio, and they Ajax him. Or no, they don't Ajax him. But they prevent him from beating. So it's 1 ult for 0. You remove that ultimate from the battlefield. GG's. Nice. Okay, well, surely, guys. Kind of a weird fight from Mayhem. Maybe I think Mayhem's trying to Ajax him for sure this time. Surely? Yeah, he's looking at that Sojourn. They use Kitsune Rush. Someone gets booped. So that kind of sucks. Check this boop from Li Gong. They're actually trying to bait the Kitsune Rush and then disengage. So someone jumps out but then he gets booped by Li Jie Gong, and that forces a primal. So that's a huge boop from literally one boop forces a primal rage. What is a good DPS pick to deal with Bastion? Spam. Spam. Hanzo, Ashe, Soldier, Echo. Yeah. Even Genji's pretty good too, yeah. Anything that can just shoot Bastion. Oh no, they want to beat engage shoot. I forgot about this. So they're like, all right, go, 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 go. No cooldowns, no cooldowns. Push, push, push. So Li Jie Gong's like, go, let's go, let's go, let's go. But then he leads the charge, and he does he not get Suzu, or does he get Suzu from Kiriko? I don't know. He freaking dies, guys. Ah no, Ajax, and that forces a primal. Aw, man. And you hate to see it because, you know, Boston wins the fight, but it costs him an entire extra ultimate to win that fight. What's a good counter to Queen Dive with Tracer, Genji, Kiriko, Lucio? What? What's a good counter to Queen Dive? I think it's more map specific. More map specific. I think the traditional Junker Queen comp could be countered a little bit more by the Brig or the BAP Iliari compositions, even on push or watch point or flash point, because they don't have like quite the speed to get on top. But yeah. That's rough. Forward spawns too, Jake. Alrighty, let's go, Mayhem. What do you got? Mayhem can maybe stop Robot here. They're gonna try to. Someone is in super deep. Smurf. I mean, oh man, what happens here? I think it might just be that Robot. Yeah. So Smurf zones backline, but just has a really bad jump. His team is on cart, right? Someone's team is not on cart. So both Winstons jump backline, but one Winston has to deal with Lucio. The other Winston doesn't have to deal with Lucio. So ignoring all the other details, Smurf loses. Smurf really should have just jumped out. He needs to know that his Lucio, his team is on cart, so that he doesn't have any health. That's just an int from Smurf.
Signature Tracer, but it's so hard with these support lineups. So many heroes are going to be able to no extra lead. He just got slowed up by checkmate, and that's it.
I have somebody at the door. Hang on a second, chat. What the frick is this? It says, in case of early arrival, don't open until August 31st. So I guess this is just going to kind of sit here. Wait a second. Why does this say Shorty Wardrobe? Why does this say Shorty Wardrobe? It's not funny. This isn't funny. You guys think you're super funny, man. Handle with care. Yeah, screw that, man. You guys suck. Freaking hate you guys. I don't know who's and I know who's responsible for this too. I know who's responsible for this too. So I'm gonna send a quick message. It's one of you guys, one of you stupid peons, peasants, pathetic plebs,
Signature tracer, but it's so hard
poopy heads.
support lineups. So many heroes are
Freaking hate that. Yeah, sorry for the delay, y'all.
does find
The UPS guy's like, yo,
who's
gotta make sure somebody's home.
Grand Theft Robot? He's out of there, man.
I don't know if it's a U-Haul box thing, but I've got my Napoleon complex. I can be angry about it. Screw off.
Well, he did kind of buy a little bit.
I'm feeling victimized, okay?
Still, though, it's a rough spot to
How are the Sojourn E's this game? Oh no, Edison's E is back. I mean, so far they've looked okay, I think.
I don't even think they need
5 foot energy, yeah.
you're on defense.
Well, yeah. I don't have anything clever to say in response to that. Give me a second. I'll think of it later.
The boss not rising to try and get
All right, Blizzard time. It's cooking, chat. Let's go. Ah! Look at that response. Oh, he knows it too.
force the ice block, but is it going to be enough? The rush
Sojourn ult. Merit is really cooking at the moment. Sojourn ult duels. Checkmate's just chilling.
behind the boss not rising right now. He's got a foot
There's the beat.
but actually no one
There's the Blizzard.
might not matter though. The blizzard comes out, forces Birdring all the way back.
Forces a nice split. Birdring's dead. That's pretty much it, guys. Let's be honest here. It's over. Yeah, I think Mayhem just old economy was better. Fight planning was better. Fight positioning was better. I mean, this is just kind of like where Mayhem's at home. You know, in the really boring stuff, they just do it really, really, really well. So, I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying anything. I don't have short people clothes. I'm not, guys. Somebody in chat, tell chat, how tall am I? People who actually know, how tall am I? Go ahead. No, not 5 feet. No. Okay. Listen, guys, let's just put it this way. If me, Torb height, okay, you're super funny. Thanks for the sub, though. If I ever got into a fight with Flat's Overwatch, I could probably reach his armpit, maybe, with my fists. Okay? But if my competition is Tyler 1 or J3, I don't even think they could see over the top of my shoes. You know what I'm saying? It's okay. You guys, screw you guys. I'll see you guys at Toronto LAN, and I'm going to show up in the freshest of clothes, the tallest of heights, the biggest of muscles, and the nicest of hair, and you guys aren't going to say jack all. I'm going to be like, what's up, punk? And you're going to be like all like beta stuff, you know what I'm saying? I don't know what to say. And I'm just going to be like, all right, I see how it is. And I'm going to peace out, you know? That's how it is. So, yeah.
little cheeky pedal play.
Cope with that one, you know what I'm saying? That's what the kids are saying, right?
Traditional Widowmaker. Small yoink. Florida. They played this before.
Yeah. You guys think you're so funny. You just wait. I'm going to show up and it's going to be so... you guys don't even know.
Do about it. That's what this comp is asking Boston Uprising.
Okay, so let's talk about this. This is where we get a little bit funny here. Obviously, Florida loves their Widow Echo. I think this is a really good point pick here. I think there's a lot of nice, juicy sightlines for Widow. I think this is also, the verticality is phenomenal for Echo. The Bat Brig is more of a situational pick. I think it's because you're like running Diva to contest high ground, so that allows RuPaul to just kind of play his own character. And then Brig can enable the DPS while being able to discourage the dives from the Winston. The reason why you're not running on a Brig is because you don't freaking need to if you're running Diva. And also, there's nothing that's really super valuable to Nano either. So there's a lot more of like, it's like, I would describe these 3 picks, and honestly, really these 4 picks, as being like point situational, map situational things that we've seen from. Stop calling me a short king! Okay, anyway, and then Boston on the flip side is just basically running anti, super spam heavy. Honestly, I do feel like Boston could have gotten away with a Widow on defense here too, because if you have your Echo to guard the back door, the flank, it's really hard to get onto a Widow on the high ground. So, I don't know. I think Boston's comp is actually fairly reasonable though, so. No, it's not. You guys still understand.
There's no traditional flanker for Boston. I think this card is going to be rolling.
It's going to be so tough to dislodge.
It's like saying I'm a nice little guy. I used to have you say, "Oh, what a nice little guy." Daddy's little soldier. Look at him go, you know. Tell you what. I want Alpha Chad, Sigma Male, greatest of all time. That's the compliments that matter. You know, you guys can get out of there with your peanuts, like short king stuff like that goes without saying. I mean, the king thing, you know. Okay. Anyway, the Widow is like really okay. So you guys are gonna notice the Widow value immediately because the Widow value just says, "Hey guys, this area of the map you can't hold it. Sorry." So they have to back up, and this just gives all the space in the world in this first choke to D.Va and Echo. I'm just gonna every time I open my mouth it just gets worse. So I'm just gonna stop now. So this just gives all the space in the world to D.Va, all the space in the world to Echo. Like look at that right there. Look how close the Echo and D.Va can get. You know. Now, someone does get naded, and someone kind of does a little bit of the trolling. And as a result, Merit also does a little bit of the trolling, because it's a good lamp by Merit, but then Merit just gets full stuck, and that's a GG's. RuPaul gets punished in response. Nice little flank jump from Smurf there. But yeah, I mean, basically, Florida gets an opportunity. They get a little horny, and they just rush it. So, yeah. I swear, I shouldn't have said anything. Doing great, buddy. Absolute worst. Good, again, Widow positioning just basically says, hi, this area is now mine. Watching for Echo, looking for full stickies. Again, this is just where the Soldier is just such an awkward pick. You know, it just doesn't do anything besides doesn't die immediately. You know, it doesn't deal with the Widow. It doesn't deal with the Echo all that well. It doesn't really put a lot more pressure on tank because the tank is D.Va and there aren't really that good sightlines because any sightline that you want to take as a soldier, Widow's just going to take better. Now, obviously running a defensive composition is really tough because you have to counter every potential composition they could run out on because we could be saying, oh, you know, they shouldn't be running soldier and then they run like some crazy dive comp, you know, and then, you know, we wish we had soldier. But I honestly don't think that's the case here. I think, I think the amount of times that we've seen soldier here, I'm hoping that we're going to see these teams move away from soldier because I think there's always going to be a slightly better niche pick that fits better. Boston gets a little bit crawdaddy with it and just decides to run it down. Florida kites it out really nicely. They do trade window for it, but we'll take the nano for window trade any day of the week. Checkmate goes for what looks like a hard flank. Yeah, up over the roof. Tries to pincer something or someone, but messes up the combo and gets pincered. Merit does kill Birdring, though. So, honestly, just a little bit of messy play from both sides. The nice thing for Florida, though, is that bless this mess is basically the way to look at Dorado first point. You have a better respawn. So, any sort of mess or chaos that you can create, if you can get a trade, it's a big deal. So, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. It does force a copy. It is what it is. I wish we could have seen that shot. This is ridiculous. This guy's just ridiculous. I just don't even know. There's your clip, ladies and gentlemen. Actually ridiculous. Like I said, though, but that chaos is set up by the pick that they got earlier, which put Boston kind of on the back foot. So nothing like Coach Spilo to ruin the fun of just a nice mechanical play with some stupid macro analysis. Now, this is where Birdring, I know he has Visor, but I'm just, please swap Widowmaker. Please swap Widowmaker. There is nothing that will touch you besides the enemy Widow.
Look at him, man. He's ice cold too. Jeez,
I would lose Visor, honestly, for Widowmaker. I would gladly trade up Visor because it is so difficult for Boston to retake this space here. Even with the Primal, I think it's really hard. Soldier is trying to flank, but again, is just totally isolated. He really should have died there. It's actually a mistake from Merit to miss that shot. Birdring should have died. Nice eat on the Iliari ultimate. Really great peel there from RuPaul on the sleep on Showwrong. Showing then responds with Rally. Big mess of ultimates. Checkmate copies Winston. It is a total train wreck. I think Smurf is looking for Widow here, but I don't think he knows where she is. So then Decay goes Tracer to try and contest Widow, but I think Merritt's going to live. He actually isolates... Oh, they late nano Smurf onto Brig. Or no, onto Winston, excuse me. Yeah, nano Winston onto Brig, sorry, excuse me. But yeah, big old mess of ultimates, but again, bless this mess for the attacking team, really a lot of the time. You know, a big mess of ultimates. This is a kind of a cute little thing. Check out the trigger discipline for this one. No need to rush anything, patience, huge kill. Chorong's gonna get off of Brig because the verticality is a big problem, so you need something with verticality. Checkmate is gonna go Tracer as well because this map is so freaking wide that anything with mobility is helpful, even if the enemy team is playing Iliari. So I think Tracer is the play here. Is my Twitch chat just dead? Or is there chat that's not happening that I'm not seeing? Yeah, see, my Twitch chat is dead on my phone. I have to reset my screen. The last thing I see, look at this chat, look at this, I'm not gonna, the last thing on my stupid phone, it says Spylo is a short queen, and that's all I've been staring at for like the last 45 seconds. Screw you guys, man. I keep looking down, I'm like, man, I guess nobody wanted to one-up that one, all right. Guess I'm just retiring, so that's all I need. Get a second screen? What do you think this is? It's a screen, man. It does the job, right? But yeah, I think besides the soldier, which is again just like, I don't know what that is. I think these comps are okay. I think the BAP is a bit weird because this map gets like super broad, and so BAP is like not as good as Ana in these super long ranges. But again, he has ultimate, so it's fine. I think Diva's good. I think Winston on defense is really quite good. Tracer's fine. I think the soldier is again kind of awkward, but yeah, it is what it is. Small screen fits you. Dang it, man. I can't say, I can't win, man. Like, there's literally nothing I can say here. Infosight's a lot of space here. I like this position for Merritt. He can be dope, but he has grapple. It's a big dive as well. Notice as well that he has the ERA ultimate turret with him. So Smurf really should have died there. He was extremely fortunate. Now, this is super sexy. You guys want to see something tight besides what's already on your screen? Look at the counter dive that RuPaul takes here. He BAP windows off of the Winston dive while the enemy supports are distracted and just freaking lasers Twilight. So what a cool little play from RuPaul there. I love it. That was really cool. And that's all you need, you know, just a little bit of chaos, a little bit of a mess. Merritt now has a better sightline. Birdwing's being choked out. Do give Birdwing credit. He really is trying to make use of the soldier. He's taking these flanks. He's using these angles. He's trying to assassinate people. It's just hard, right? Visor is, I'm not going to lie with you guys. I don't know what the plan was here. I really don't know what the plan was here. I don't know if it was like a try to cause some chaos and then like maybe like something happens off of that, but I don't know if it was like a, hey, let's force him off a cart and then we try some other like thing. Because like the thing is with the Visor, it's not like it's going to get a 5k, you know, you might get one kill out of it, maybe, but I don't know. Honestly, I really don't know what this Visor was. Does Iliari have follow-up? Yes, she does. Decay's trying. Decay kind of forces something after recall and then ends up dying for it. This is just two really individual mistakes from both of Boston's DPS. And, you know, again, Birdwing, my man is trying. He's doing nothing, though. There's a nano, but he can't leave cart because his Tracer's dead. Twilight has to overpush. Twilight dies with ultimate. And then just, you know, yeah, I don't know. Boston, I don't think the soldier was the play, but Boston also just kind of fumbles the bag individually as well. Let's not lie here. Okay, now this is when we get to the clown fiesta again. For the last time, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know what this is. I don't know what this is. This is there are not a lot of flanks that are available on this point. And so let's just push card and spam. This is, I'm not going to lie to you, I don't think this is optimal. This is a classic Florida special where they run something suboptimal, but because it makes at least a little bit of sense on the point, because it's nice and wide, not a lot of good flanks, and because these guys have never seen this, they fumble the bag. They fumble the bag. Guys, Sigma Bastion is not the optimal meta composition on 3-point Dorado. It's not. But Florida's been doing this all season long. It's good enough and weird enough so they don't know what to do.
Ends up being pure defense. Wow, a lot of indecision.
And it also is at a terrible time too, because Smurf honestly should stay Winston here. Or go Diva. I think Diva would be the play here. I don't love the Orisa pick, actually. I think Sigma into Orisa is pretty decent for Sigma. Orisa's not a bad choice here, but yeah. So they're just going to force cart. They're just going to force cart. Tracer can control the off angle by herself, because they don't really have any off angle presence here, right? Like, this is when, you know, you kind of would love to see something like an Ana Kiri or an Iliari Kiri instead of an Ana. I think Ana's fine, but yeah. So basically, you're just going to off angle, off angle, off angle, off angle. Obviously, pulse swam is huge. That force... Okay, actually, he gets him 1. Whatever. Decay just freaking dies to grenade. There's the ult. It hits Merit, but there's going to be lamp for that. There's the lamp. Churong holds the angle. Hanzo runs at him. They just murder Twilight. Everything grouped up on cart. But there's no off angles anywhere from Boston. Like, Hanzo's the only one controlling an angle. He gets cleared out and killed. And then now we have Sunrise, and it's just... It just... Boston doesn't even get to set their feet. It's just disastrous. And give credit to Merit as well for hitting a pretty nice nade there. Yeah, I mean, it's just total cornball. But it works. We can sit back here in hindsight and analyze it to high heaven, but they couldn't in the moment, so they lose. So that's it. Okay, let's juice up. Florida Mayhem composition. We've already talked about it. Crap, did I talk about this on stream before? I feel like I did. It's been a while though. Merit, high ground. Way back. Checkmate, Echo. Basically, because the point is good for Echo, but also if they wanted to counter and flank the Widowmaker, the Echo can actually control that flank and prevent them from doing that. It's really easy to scout it when you're running an Echo as well. Diva, stop cart, control space, mark, pressure, Bat Brig, again, just point specific. If this was more open, you'd run Ana Brig or Bap Kiri or Bap Iliari, but it's not, so you just basically turtle Bap, and you don't need the Ana when you're running Diva. So, yeah. This is a major throw from Boston, though. Ignoring some of the mistakes that Twilight makes on Brig, ignoring some of the old economy mistakes, they basically commit Nano Primal while down. Nano Primal is how you beat this composition, because it kills 1, 2, or 3 of these targets. All 3 of these targets should just be dead versus Nano Primal. Unless they have Rally, and even if they have Rally, it's over. The problem is they fumble the Nano Primal, and there is an imposter among us, okay? There's an imposter among us. Somebody on Boston is on the wrong hero. And this is not the first time that we've had this issue with Boston in this series. Can anybody tell me what the issue is here? I don't like the Brig. I don't like the Brig. I understand that Brig is not necessarily the worst choice here. There is a Diva, there is an Echo that could potentially dive, you know, packs are still useful for your Echo and Ana as well. It's not a bad choice. But when you consider the map, when you consider the person playing the composition, and that it's really not that good of a pick into the enemy composition, it's just okay. I just don't understand this at all. I see no reason why this should be run at all. This screams Ana, Kiriko. Kiriko to flank, Kiriko to pocket your Echo, Kiriko to hard pressure Widow. It's not amazing for Kiriko, even the verticality of the map, right? But it just has to be better than this. it has to be better than this. And I don't know if this is just like Twilight's not as comfortable on Kiriko or what, but this is a major problem. I don't even know if it's a coaching fumble, because I don't know if they, like, you have to understand that Boston coaches are not talking to Boston between rounds here. Like when after this defense versus Florida, there was no communication between coaches and players. But you got to run on a Kiriko, guys. You just have to. Like, I think it's way too free. Way too free. So, Boston messes up the two things that they need. They need to counter comp in some way, shape, or form, right? You have the attacker's advantage. You can choose your composition. There's no way that this is the best support lineup versus this. And in addition to that, you have to get your Nano Primal, and they didn't get their Nano Primal. They had two jobs, and they didn't do either of them. Yeah, so I don't know. I got no idea. Because the problem is that you can play Brig in these circumstances, but you need somebody who knows how to play Brig and how to like leverage her like brawl potential, and Twilight doesn't know how to do it. So if you were going to play Brig here, you need somebody who's going to play Brig. Like if you were going to play Brig here, you would need Brig to get off of cart, or Ana to get off of cart, and start to control and contest top left and mid. Like here, you would need something like a Brig Echo to be, or Ana Echo to be working in tandem, and be pocketing probably Brig Echo and be spamming this devout. Like there's just no way that someone should live here if there's an Echo on an angle or something. And ultimately, like Merritt really plays his angles right. He hits his shots, but like it's just not good.
Like that's a mistake, and I think with someone's diva, you really feel your heel at all times. Maybe they made the wrong call with this roster. Maybe Florida has outstrategied.
And Florida's comp, it's rough for me to look at this composition and say, oh yeah, I like this composition versus this composition, when these are the guys that can literally go back to spawn and pick a different hero. That shouldn't be the case. Yo, what's up, BP? Your tweet actually had me howling earlier. The Mercy one, it was super funny. It's a rare one. Every time I see a BP tweet and I'm like, oh, that was actually funny, it's a rare occasion. Do I like escort tiebreakers? Yeah, I can see the problem with them, because the problem with escort tiebreakers is that a lot of them have like super niche strats, which make them a little bit more like a lot more like RNG, if that makes any sense. Like Florida has this map on lock, right? They've got their unique strats. I don't know what their win rate in scrims has been like, so who knows? Maybe Boston was done really well in scrims, but Florida definitely has like a strat here, and Boston did not have an answer for it. So instead of it being like a competitive King of the Hill game, or a competitive push game like we saw earlier, or a competitive flashpoint game, yeah, it does look kind of like Boston kind of lost in the sauce. So I can see from competitive integrity it not being best, but I haven't thought about it enough to have a really like firm opinion. I have to think about it more. Yeah.
No headshots just yet for either Widowmaker on each other. It's just been a battle.
So adjusting his angle for the Widow, I just makes the Widow, I mean right there, right? Like that's why Decay dies here, because Decay thinks that Merritt's still on top and has no idea that he's positioned his angle. I'm telling you guys, Widow is just as much brain as it is aim. That's obviously a total lie, but it is a lot of brain. I'll say it, I've said it a million times, I'll say it again. What made Ons great, at least when we scrimmed him on Glads, that's the only time that I actually scrimmed versus him, is he was so unpredictable with how he positioned. You had no idea where he would go. And that's it right there. That was a disgusting shot, but also total unpredictability. Caught myself quick there. I don't even know what I did. And this is the disaster. Nano Primal. And that's it. Like that you must have that combo to break this composition. You know? Twilight currently with the AKM rally. Again, I'm not making fun. Like it's hard. Oh, the Widow comment. Oh yeah. Counter walls, grapples up, cuts off the sightline. And now we just like turtle them all in a small area. It's just absolute misery for Boston. Headshot on Winston is a lot of damage. They try to heal him up. and now he's just freaking dead. There's the rally and response. Twilight has rally, but probably doesn't want to use it. He does use it. Major error. They use copy and rally. They're down one, and they have no map control. Decay is freaking dead. Huge nade, though. Huge nade. Okay, so Izzyaki deadlifting here, but Merit is still uncontested. And this is where you need the Primal or Nano, but you don't got it at all. It's disaster. And then this is the Panic Kiriko swap. It's too late. Too late. He doesn't even get the wall. Too late. And then they just surprise. I actually think Checkmate was cheesing. I think Checkmate was flanking in their spawn and spawn camp. I think that's a spawn camp to where they're like, hey, they got to rush the cart. Let's just spawn camp somebody. I think someone in Checkmate spawn camped. That's a really, really smart play. You could do that in your ranked games, by the way. If they're in a rush to touch point, like kiting and killing a squishy and letting them touch point is something you can exploit a lot. And that's it, y'all. That's it. I mean, impressive performance from Florida. I think for the most part, they played well. I think this should have been a 3-1 if Birdring doesn't pop off on Ilios well. Obviously, Florida needed to kind of sort their crap out together on Flashpoint. I think the Soldier pick didn't look as good. I think they lost the old economy. Boston looked really clean on their planning. But I think Florida really deserved every win beyond that. What was the second map? Why am I forgetting? Oh, yeah. I mean, there's just so many situations that, like, Florida, like, I really think you can boil down Numbani and Dorado. And I think you can boil down this entire match. Because honestly, Ilios well, too, right? Ilios well was the same thing. Where it just looks like Florida would throw something at Boston, and Boston just didn't know what to do. Like the Sigma, the Bastion, the Echo Widow, they didn't know what to do. The May even, right? Some adjustments versus the May. Nothing. So anytime Florida, not anytime, but most of the times Florida was throwing curveballs, Boston was striking out. And I think you got to give as much credit to Florida as you do trash on Boston, because Boston is a really good team, but Florida played it well. I really wanted to. So I hope that if nothing else you guys got from this match, like the nuances of the rock, paper, scissors, the comps, the counter comps, Iliari's impact, way of playing around Iliari. Really fun match to watch, but also I think probably the most impactful or interesting match when it comes to like counter comps, especially for a handful of those maps. That we may have ever seen. Like I think this was an unbelievable variety of compositions that really demonstrated some of the potential new metas that we may be seeing. The only thing that we didn't really see from either team a lot is I would have liked to have seen some Onakiri dive. Houston was whipping that one out. I would love to see if we see more of that in the future. But yeah, I mean, really, what very enjoyable game as always. It's always a 5-map Florida banger. You know it's going to be good. Okay, chat questions. Yeah, Boston's inflexibility. Definitely their ability to kind of, not even inflexibility, but their inability to kind of adapt on the fly. Not necessarily play the heroes, but like figure out what they needed to be doing, whether it was their play style or whatever. Does Den still have a place with Iliari? I think it's possible. I just think, I talked about this in my Ana Kiriko video yesterday. I think you have to be careful still versus like Tracers, even with Iliari. Like she's still a threat. So Zen Iliari is possible, but you really lack tank damage and you really lack peel for the Zen. You don't really have either. So it's like hyper greedy. Is New York boomed this meta? I don't know. I think it's too easy, too early to say. I went back and watched, shoot, who did New York play, chat? Who did they play? Like I watched like Eichenwalde. I've got my German pronunciation. Oh, I'm so extra. Glads. Yeah, I honestly felt like Glads played it pretty well. And some of the maps, okay, what was it? Yeah, I mean, I think just New York was making, okay, this is kind of fun to look at too. Like you guys can go back now and look at all these compositions and be like, yeah, why are teams running Kiriko Lucio? Well, because if you didn't run like Kiri Lucio, you would not, if you ran like Ana Lucio or Ana Brig, you would just lose to Iliari. So then you see these more like Lucio oriented non-tracer compositions. My question is, are we going to see Tracer sneak back in as teams get more comfortable not playing an Iliari? Because like, does Tracer work in the mirror, right? She doesn't work versus Iliari, but what if they're both running Lucio comps? Does Tracer still work? I know she doesn't have any sort of range pocket. And then like this here, like here's your Iliari spam. So what do Glads do? Well, they go full Lucio speed brawl. They're running down this composition, right? And I think, if I remember correctly, it works pretty well. I didn't really watch this match. I mostly skimmed it. But yeah, I mean, it works reasonably well. Yeah, and then... So I think Glads maybe out-comped them a little bit here. Maybe. I think it's hard to say like how good the Iliari is into Lucio. And then I think this map is relatively competitive, and you can really see that like Glads limit testing the Lucio stuff, right? One of my buddies, you know, guys know Cager, right? Like he was talking about like he wondered if Zarya Lucio would be functional into these compositions, and it definitely seemed like Glads were trying. Obviously kind of a tough map for it outside of first point, but they found like mixed success with it. And then they managed to get to third point, where then you can just run them over again with Lucio's speed. The question is Iliari going to do enough damage to like actually counter the Lucio speed on these like tight congested areas? Because what you really have to do is you have to kind of like park yourself on an angle and spam behind. But do you do enough damage for that to actually matter, right? Like you can look at this here, like, right? Like look at Lucio and Genji working together, right? But does Iliari and like Torb or Iliari Soldier win that 2v2? I mean, obviously mechanics play a very important factor. So I don't know. I thought this one was relatively competitive, if I remember correctly. I just kind of like felt like New York kind of fumbled the bag at points in time. Again, to look at them run the Lucio, even on the second point, right? Utilizing that high ground, anywhere New York rotates, you just run right at Fitz. You run right at creative, they just die. And then here, like, right, like this is where like New York goes like, I think this is like a little bit ambitious. Like I'm honestly not sure if this composition can function super well. Like I think for this composition to function into the Orisa with Torb, I think you have to be like super like disciplined. Because like if Winston can get on top of these guys, it can work. But geez, you take so much damage. Like you take so much damage. Yeah, I don't know. I actually think Doomfist could be better here, because at least you could have a better job avoiding damage. But obviously you have to really avoid the Orisa. The Iliari Lucio is really interesting as well, because it's like hyper greeting damage into Winston, right? You lose a lot of sustain, but it's more damage on Winston than Kiriko, I think. So I think it goes Doomfist, which I actually liked. But you have to play like super well, and then Kevster makes a really brilliant swap to Sombra, and then it's rough. So I just think Glads played it better. So yeah. New York doesn't have a Genji player either. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, honestly, it's like, this is the thing. It's like, if a team goes here, you know, what's your response? Is it easy to out rotate the Orisa comp? Is Iliari just a better Zen? I mean, Zen just does way more damage than Iliari, but is so much more fragile and not mobile enough to utilize that consistently. Yeah, Psycho Genji is probably fine. I mean, I'm not as familiar with it, but I don't know. One trick isn't cut up for all. Well, yeah, Psycho. I mean, Necros Genji is good, but I don't even know that Necros Genji would be like top 8 and out, honestly. Maybe not even top 10, honestly. Like, it would also depend on like his ability to like adapt to like, his mechanics are good, but like obviously being a good Genji isn't just mechanics. What if Zen? Yeah, if Zen had 225 HP, we'd almost probably immediately see something back. We'd go like right back to Briggs Zen. Briggs Zen Tracer, something like that. Like, it's like, you guys have to understand that like little tweaks like that is snowball effect, and I'm going to talk about that on Thursday, about like what makes a meta. But yeah, no, he rolled a far one trick comic kinders. Yeah, no, Necros is a good player. No, I mean, I think people are both into the spectrum. There's either people that are like, oh, Necros would be like amazing in Owl, And then people are like, oh, Nekos was a terrible Genji. He's not even close to being L level. But then it's like, the guy plays in contenders and he does fine, right? He's a good player and he's really good at Genji. I think the big issue with Nekros is that he is a one trick and that he wouldn't be the best Genji player in L by a long shot. So then, like, there's no point, like, actually. Brig Iliari, I just don't think Iliari needs the Brig is the problem, right? You don't need the Brig. You have your own defensive cooldowns that keep you alive, so you don't need the Brig. So you can greed value elsewhere. Oh my god, that's fine. Because the main thing with the Brig is it's a +1 to somebody who needs it. It's the peel for the Ana and the Sombra Tracer composition. It's the peel for the Zen and the dive hybrids, right? That's the key thing. Possessed by Michael Jackson. I'm not sure what the whole qualification thing is. It's so complicated. I've not been looking at it as much. If Al wanted a Genji specialist, they would take me. You know what I'm saying? That's if Al wanted a Genji specialist, they would take me. Don't laugh. I hit Masters on that hero a long time ago, so Overwatch, you know, so. Am I gonna do a rework series on any supports? Yeah, I'm gonna. So if you guys haven't been seeing, I've been posting a lot of cringe reworks. It was a fun project we did last week with my Discord, which was like, hey, what are 6 heroes, like, just community ideas? And I got, like, I don't even know, like, dude, you guys want to see how many ideas I got submitted? Wait for it, dude. Check this. You guys don't even know. Look at this. Look at the ideas I got. Look at the ideas that I got. And it's still going. So I got hundreds of ideas for the 6 heroes that we went for. And so we spent like 7, 8, 9 hours going over all of them. Then I did some stuff off stream as well. Oh my gosh, it's like freaking out. And then I compiled, discussed them with chat. We compiled the ones that we liked the most. And then we like kind of like, basically I put together like a quick TLDR on it just for fun. Obviously people are like, why don't you do Widowmaker, or why don't you do Hanzo? And it's like, I wanted to do the ones that were like more interesting to talk about besides, you know, one shots OP, you know, because that's just an ugly can of worms. And yes, we will be doing supports and tanks, so just for fun. Cheers, Yamir, appreciate it. Masters is like the highest rank. Yeah, Masters is the highest rank, y'all, so it doesn't get any higher. What about the DPS seminar? That's still on the horizon. So we did the full tank coaching guide. I'm gonna have to do like DPS seminar part 1 and part 2, or like projectile DPS and then hit scan. But yeah. Yeah, the whole thing with the bash and turret form, though, as somebody pointed out, is that you'd have to like nerf its tank damage, because it would be too, like, it'd be a significant buff to its ability to like deal with like Winstons and dive tanks. So you'd have to do something with its like clip size or something like that. The ideas are short. Oh my gosh. Yeah. To be fair, Apollify, I didn't, a lot of those ideas, like, I needed help too, so a lot of those ideas weren't even mine. New York is safe unless Boston fumbled to Glads, which is possible. I mean, Glads didn't look shabby, you know. I think it's possible. Glads, you never can tell. Like, Glads, you just never can tell. You just never can tell with Glads. All right, chat. I am going to raid the greatest of all time, Rack Attack, as if that needed to be clarified. He just started streaming, so we're just gonna toss the raid over to Rack. Give him some love. Obviously, goofy into the season for him, but he's gonna be smoking on some Lifeweaver, and I think he's playing contenders later as well, or maybe watching some contenders. So yeah, I will be here on Thursday. It will be my birthday on Thursday, and I have a lot of stream ideas I want to do on Thursday, some little details. So appreciate y'all jumping in. I'll chat with you guys later. I'll see you guys Thursday. Loves and kisses. How old am I turning? 22. Yeah, 22. Big 2-2. You guys might remember that. All right, chat. I'm not 22, guys. I'm not 22. I'll see you guys later. Tell Rack I said hey.